evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we are at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. It plays host to the Season 61 Rolling Thunder Gaming Superspeedway style All-Star Race and All-Star Open qualifying event, which is the event just about to go green. 10 drivers will lock themselves into the field here tonight for the main event. I'm Seth Cole, and I'm joined by the driver who came up second place in the last All-Star race we had at the conclusion of Season 58, Josh Metallic. Josh, welcome to the booth, and here tonight, maybe a little less pressure off of a lot of these open drivers, the fact there's so many spots available to qualify in, but at the same time, it's a super speedway, it's unpredictable. There are enough drivers in the field where some are probably not going to make it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Looking forward to just some fun racing. It's not there's no points. The only thing that matters is winning. So yeah, a good solid field, and yeah, we're moving several in, so should be a heck of a night.
Jess and I were talking at the end of the Speedway race, and we expected with all the craziness and hard racing we saw there that the aggressive level, the intensity is going to ramp up a little bit more because everybody is going to be so close together, not only here in the Open, but in the upcoming All-Star race. What is it about super speedway racing, especially when you put them at a super speedway with no points on the line in a type of non-points event like an all-star race? What is it that has the drivers want to go maybe that little extra edge on making an aggressive move, maybe forcing a double wide to three wide, and of course making the aggressive moves, trying to be that first one back to the checkered flag?
Well, you mentioned 2 and 3 wide. I'm open for 3 and 4 wide.
Oh,
Yeah, like you said, it's there's nothing on the line other than the trophy. It's bring it home. In victory lane, on the record, either one. But yeah, guys are going to be, the lotto kind of always throws a wrench into it. You figure out where you're starting at, and then you figure out who around you might work with you, and then it's getting into that top 10. And if you're that ninth, 10th spot, you're always watching over your shoulder. They will have to do at least one pit stop, so we'll see if that's a green flag pit stop or not. Those are always wild cards, so you can't just worry about the on track. It's the pit stops too.
you talk about that potential pit stop. Of course, we know we mentioned about the fact that all the series that run on Monday through Thursday all run with the CTS physics, so no difference there for these drivers in that usual 19 to 20 lap window. But a lot of these drivers I'm seeing here in the field tonight, most of them we see in the Tally Challenge, but a couple of names that I'm noticing that don't race regularly there. We ended up having that one time when it was announced that we were going to be alternating from Talladega to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and all drivers of all experience levels said we had to go through a period of adjustment of our usual breaking points at Talladega as opposed to coming to the new racetrack of BSR. That's something that these drivers are going to have to tackle here tonight.
Yeah, I still say it's the same track, just a different visual. But again, where you're braking is based on what you see. You're braking at the a certain marker, a certain light on the side of the track. So with new pavement, new painting, new eye candy on the track, you got to find a new spot to pit from. So just little things that can catch you sleeping. You think you're running a RTG V3, and then come in to pit a BSR, and your braking points are off, and then you're in big trouble.
Like a little issue rolling off the grid there for the 20 of Johnny Van Gorder. I believe he might have dropped to the back end of the field here, voluntary EOL for this start, so that will put a couple of Ford Mustangs on the front row. Bobby Farrell on the inside, Bob Dixon on the outside, Wiley Coate, Ronald Lucet in row number 2, Robbie Nisus and Glenn Harris in row number 3. Looks like we got roughly about 14 or 15 drivers ready to take this green flag here tonight, and Farrell gets us underway. The All-Star Open has begun, and of course, this is the mod that is used on Tuesday nights in Speed Freaks. They've run a number of super speedways on their schedule. What about the adjustment for drivers that are used to running the Aero 88s on Thursday night? Is there a difference or a similarity with the hitboxes of the Xfinity cars to the old Aero 88s?
There is a difference. I think the arrows are pretty forgiving. NXS, I think they're good too. I mean, that's why Rodney chose them. They're pretty good with the hit boxes, but they're different. You can catch an arrow certain way in this car, another way, and one will bumper hook, one won't. Also, depending on your visual, if you're running cockpit, the cockpit of an aero car versus this modern car is going to look different. So, same physics, same type of cars for the most part, but yeah, they are a little bit different, just enough to give you problems.
Bobby Farrell going to lead the first lap. Of course, no points on the line, so no bonus point for leading a lap. It just comes down to being in the top 10, crossing the line to receive the checkered flag to lock yourself into the all-star race. So as we're looking here, double wide all the way through the field, you've got, the top 10 there, 5 rows deep of double file. What are those drivers from 11th on back doing right now? Is it a wait and see, or is there a little sense of urgency in the early going to get yourself up into the top 10 and then start playing defense?
It's lap 2 going to lap 3. My biggest concern is keeping the car clean. I'm not too worried about where I'm at this early on. Honestly, I probably wouldn't get to really strategizing until probably after pit stops. Especially if it stays like this and they're pretty calm, there's a decent shot of green flag pitting. And again, that once that happens, that's kind of where. Ooh, that was close.
Rewind there.
So
Woo! Almost looking 3 wide again.
yeah, I said they'd be calm, and we're now 3 wide. So
Well,
shows
you
what I
wanted
know.
3 and 4 wide, okay? They probably heard you. They're giving you your wish.
They're getting there. We'll get 4 wide sooner or later, I hope.
That's Doug Hewlick up there on the outside line leading the third lane. Looks like he's got Denny Carroll, David Cannon up there with him. Oh, and he's going to go around, and he's going to catch air as Doug Hewlick. We got cars in the grass. Robbie Nices is involved. Jessica Shelton. Oh, and they're still flying in there. The 36 of Jeff Crivello, the 20 of Johnny Van Gorder. More than a half dozen drivers here with damage after an incident on the front straightaway coming to receive the caution at the completion of lap number 3. And this is not what you wanted if you were a driver looking to transfer your way in, because you don't want to have aero damage for the remainder of this race, just less than 5 laps into the running.
Yeah, and just on the initial look, there's a lot of cars, a lot of smoke, but I didn't see too many hard hits. Even the guy that got airborne, I don't think he went over. So with moderate damage, it may look a lot worse than it was. We'll have to see after they pit who's up to speed or not, but it could have been a lot worse, I think, damage-wise.
Actually started on the inside line and migrated its way up to the top. Looked like maybe some bumper grab there between Robbie Nice and Jessica Shelton. Then they came up and got Crivello in the middle lane. And Doug Hewlick, who was leading that outside line. Terry Bombard went for a spin in the grass there. In the powder blue number 10 with the breast cancer awareness ribbon on the hood. There's Crivello in the very colorful Skittles Toyota Supra. Graham McDonald in the 61, saw him and the 20 of Johnny Van Gorder kind of hanging out at the back. That worked out in their favor. They were able to both skate their way on through with no damage and pick up some positions.
Yeah, I see. Looks like maybe Crivello may have gotten some decent damage, but if it's just on the sides, that may not hold him up that much.
David Cannon also got a piece of it. Denny Carroll in the 41 looked like he went for maybe a half spin in the grass, and then he was able to get it pointed the right direction, keep on going. And of course, as well, in this All-Star Open and the upcoming All-Star race, as opposed to what we usually see on Thursday nights, all cautions are race back. So with an incident happening here in the tri-oval, a lot of those drivers that were spinning, they were trying to get their cars pointed the correct direction so that way they could cross the line in as good a position as they could possibly have in preparation for the upcoming round of pit stops. There looked like quite a number of takers on pit road here.
Yeah, you never hope for a caution, especially in one of these races, but it might have been the best place to have it. One of the things I was thinking was if we have a wreck on the backstretch, we could have a second wreck from guys letting off, forgetting that it's race back, and it causes another wreck. So just a little bit different rules can kind of cause some issues. So with where the wreck happened, didn't have to worry about that too much.
Now, we had 18 drivers that took the green flag, which means that 8 will fail to make the show. Looks like already one of them will be Jeff Crivello. He has taken his machine back behind the wall, so he'll get credit for 18th in this All-Star Open. 7 more drivers will be eliminated along with him, but tough break there for Jeff. Just got the green flag. We were 3 laps in, and his All-Star Open is done. But yeah, we talk about the differences of driver mentality and approach to an All-Star Open or an All-Star race as opposed to a regular season race where points are on the line, a potential playoff spot is on the line, even a championship can be on the line. What about with an All-Star Open or an All-Star race? Obviously, everybody wants to win it, but if you aren't able to get that checkered flag, if you end up having to retire the race after a horrific crash, does it sting just as much, or is it not nearly as bad?
Oh, it stings. You're racing for wins for whatever it is you're trying to get, and if you don't get it, you're disappointed. Whether it's a points race, a season finale championship, an all-star race. And I know I was kind of disappointed after the way my race went on Monday, being an all-star race. So yeah, you tell people that's for fun, it's non-points, but when the green comes out, mentality's the same no matter what's at stake. So tough to get out of the habit of trying to compete at a top level.
Lights still on atop the Chevrolet Camaro pace car, so we'll probably get at least 2 more laps of pacing here. Looks like cars that did not pit under this yellow include Bobby Farrell and John Van Gorder, your front row. Bob Dixon looked like he was going to stay out with them, but he came to pit road just a moment ago, so everybody else behind them from Wiley Coat on back, they have at least a full tank of fuel, if not maybe some fresh tires. The only problem is for all these drivers, whether you stayed out or whether you pitted, we weren't in the window for you to be able to make it the rest of the way. They're still going to find themselves about 7 or 8 laps short when we go back green.
Yeah, looking at the math, I think the guys that pitted on what, lap 4 or 5. So you figure they're 24 laps short. They should be able to do a half can. The guys that stayed out, they're going to be probably 26 laps, maybe 25. They might be able to do a half can as well, but sometimes it doesn't make sense why people are pitting. But if you get to that last pit stop, you're taking a half can less or something like that. It'll get you spots just based on less fuel. So games begin right away, even this early for pit strategy.
If you had sharp ears, you would have heard right there, heading into turn 3, the 92 Bobby Farrell shut the engine off, threw in the clutch, does it right there again through the center of 4, coming onto the front straightaway, saving every bit of fuel possible, maybe trying to get to that window you're talking about to be able to come down and only take on the half can. May not seem like much, but the amount of time spent to take a half can and a full can of fuel, huge difference in relation to what your track position might look like when a green flag pit stop is complete. Now, we've had this early caution, Josh. I normally say that, especially in Superspeedway racing, it takes a big wreck to kind of have everybody settle down, the adrenaline taking the initial green flag, it starts to settle a bit. Now we maybe ride and we realize, you know what, let's not tear our equipment up on the first opening laps here. We got a long ways still to go. Do you think that's the case, or with this being an all-star race, is all that kind of mentality out the window?
Well, I think if you're in the top 5, top 10, you're a little bit treacherous. But if you're up there near the front, you're just wanting to go single file, boring race. Everyone follow you. But yeah, the further back you go, and they'll be also curious how much damage some of these guys got. I don't think many of them got too much damage. Obviously, Crivello got torn up, but the question is, those guys at the back, are they able to keep up with the field? And if so, can they make moves? Sometimes you're damaged and you're hanging with the field, and that's all you can do. You can't force a third lane. You can't push anybody forward. You're just hanging on for dear life. So the more damage you get, the more those guys at the front feel safe.
Lights out on the pace car, so we'll go back green at the completion of lap 7 on to lap 8. Pretty nice manufacturer representation up on our first 2 rows. You've got the Ford Mustang of Bobby Farrell on the inside of row 1. Outside, the Honda Accord of Johnny Van Gorder. Then our highest Dodge, Wiley Coat in 3rd place. And our highest Chevrolet Camaro with Ron Lucet on the outside of row number 2. Glenn Harris going to restart in 5th. Milt Surratt in 6th. Andre Mahjong 7th. 8th place will be Ulysses Sandoval, Terry Bombard in 9th, and David Cannon right now in that final transfer position in the 10th position. Looks like Bob Dixon, Robbie Nisus, Doug Kulik, Tom Dixon, Denny Carroll, Jessica Shelton, and Graham McDonald going to be the completion. My scoring is showing Graham McDonald in the 61 a lap down. I'm not certain how he lost that lap, but he would be a driver hoping to see another yellow flag to be able to get a free pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with him.
Not sure if he fell out or if he had an extended stay on pit road, but you got to think he'll be in ride mode here just in case something happens up ahead of him, because he doesn't want to get involved in the incident and lose that lucky dog positioning. As Bobby Farrell going to bring us down here to the green flag, and he will get us back underway. You know, I talked about this during the All-Star Open for the Speedway style event on Monday. Same deal here. A lot of drivers in this Open that you would think at some point would have had themselves locked into the All-Star race and having to qualify their way in.
There's so much talent, even throughout the field on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the Superspeedway races. And there's guys here that, you just don't expect them in an Open. You know, they're plenty talented. They've won. They've won races in the past. They just haven't done it in the last 3 seasons. It's tough. I did check on Graham. He dropped out of the server, fell through under the yellow, so that's where he lost. I think he lost 2 laps. They put him back to -1, I believe, is what they're going to do here, and he'll just have to hope for another yellow, I think.
Currently the only car 1 lap down, or the only car off the lead lap overall, so he would be in a free pass position if we were to get a yellow. Getting a little racy around the 5th position. Andre Mahjong, Ron Lucet trying to make something happen, but it doesn't look like very many drivers all that anxious to go up to that second lane. About the top 5 or so got themselves cleared on the inside. Now that middle line's starting to get some momentum back. Johnny Van Gorder up there, David Cannon. I guess they had to get themselves organized a little bit better, get a little bit more tighter draft, but now that's going to break it up as Van Gorder gets shuffled up all the way to the high side.
Yeah, Johnny's a new driver, actually getting ready to start full-time next season, I believe, so he may be just mixing it up and try not to be in the hornet's nest. Looks like he's going to ride to the back here, log a few more laps. It's still early, but yeah, you're starting to see some guys start to migrate to that top side, see if they can make some progress.
Actually, I like that, though. If he's making his first official start next season, why not get up here, test some things out, see what it's like up in the pack? I mean, I can be honest with you, when I ended up racing with you guys in one of those Tally Challenge races, and I was 3 wide in the middle with you guys, I was absolutely terrified, but in the end, it makes you a better racer, all that experience. So, kudos to him getting up into the belly of the beast, so to speak, getting his feet wet, and might help him out with moves later on when we begin the 60-second season.
Baptism by fire.
Indeed.
Yeah, you can only learn so much riding around with AI cars or logging laps by yourself, or even practice. Practice is not the race. Guys race different. They race harder. They push more. So you want to learn how to drive, you got to be in the race. And he's hanging on to the draft, hanging in there, and right in the thick of things.
Now, we've seen, obviously, when we've covered Superspeedway races and the Tally Challenge, there's alliances out there, there's teammates out there. What about in an All-Star Open? How much alliances do we see? How many teammates do we see be able to work together? Or in an open qualifying race, is it more of your friends are where you find them?
Well, we'll find out. I kind of do the free agent thing. I obviously love working with Tim and Wiley, but yeah, there are teammates that will work pretty exclusively, if possible, with each other and each other only. But like you said, there's only one winner, and I don't know how that'll work out tonight. If teammates are 1-2, I would hope that they battle it out. Someone else is going to battle them if they don't. So yeah, the teammates and the non-points thing always kind of an unknown. So we'll see.
Ulysses Sandoval with a push from Jessica Shelton going to be clear for the race lead. Now, Ulysses, before we came on the air, he was having some problems. He had just uploaded his car file. It was the wrong physics, so we weren't able to show his car, but maybe a happy little accident, because normally with the generic cars, the number of the car is flipped upside down. Well, it's still a real number. Instead of the 069 or 096, it's actually the 960. So it's still a number. It's just not the right number.
Yeah, no paint job. If you're in the lead, it always looks nice. So I'm seeing a plain blue car, but I'm sure he's more than happy how it looks where it's at right now.
I'm throwing out a conspiracy theory. No decals, higher speed. There's no drag if you don't have decals.
Yeah, every little bit. I know they went from painting to wraps for the weight difference. If you just do neither, that's got to be an advantage as well.
Well, he's going to get shuffled out now. Jessica Shelton crossed him over on the back straightaway. She's going to look for the top position. Behind her, Andre Mahjong in the 27, who was able to clear himself down in front of Bobby Farrell, and maybe a little block right there. Farrell's going to go through the grass, and this cannot be good. There's no grip there, and he's going to clip the 20, who clips the 54. Caution's going to wave.
Yeah, I think he got low, and I don't know if wheel settings may have tried
And we got a
dragging
wreck.
the pit road.
We got a wreck up here on turn 1 as well. I think David Cannon, Terry Bombard, and Andre Mahjong may have all gone around. Caution going to fly for the second time here in this All-Star Open. Oh, we're in the window now, so I think you'll see everybody to pit road, and fuel will no longer be a concern. Go back to turn 4.
Definitely takes the fuel strategy out of the window.
A couple of Fords getting together there. Hey, we talked about the getting used to the hitbox of the Aero 88 cars at the beginning of the season when we moved over to it for the Tally Challenge. There might be some drivers not necessarily familiar with the hitbox here of the NXS 20 Xfinity cars. As off of 4, 27 kind of moves up, he comes back down. There you see it, that rear bumper grabs onto the front bumper of Farrell, sends him into the grass, and it's just so hard to keep your car pointed straight when you're down there in the grass because front tires, you direct them one way, rear tires want to do another thing, and unfortunately it comes back up the track and tags the 20 and the 54.
Yeah, Bobby was along for the ride. The 27, I don't know if he drifted up or changed his mind and went back low to cover the spot, and whatever it was a little too late and clipped Bobby, and once you're in the grass, you're just a passenger.
Another look at it here. You see right there, car kind of jerks to the right with the rear tire spinning, and there you see Johnny Van Gorder and Robbie Nisus. Now, looks like up here further, we'll go back and look at the initial start of it, but it looks like maybe the 27 and the 003 of David Cannon got together. I said Terry Bombard was involved. He may have just slowed up. Let's see what happens here as they're racing back to the caution. Ooh, and Wiley Coate gets into the right rear of the 27. David Cannon nowhere to go. It's like another case of bumper grab there. So bumper grab on two different ends of the racetrack on the front straightaway.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the downside to racing back. Had that been a normal caution, would have, they probably would have been fanning out a little bit more. I don't know if the 27 let up or the 5 just misjudged it and clipped them, but yeah, racing back versus coming back casually, that might have been the difference in that one.
Well, we got the opportunity here under caution. Looks like Graham McDonald staying out here. He would actually get the lucky dog, so he'd be back on the lead lap. That was exactly the yellow flag that he needed. Jessica Shelton, Ulysses Sandoval, Wiley Coate, Bob Dixon, I believe they all came down pit lane. Shelton will restart as the leader. We talk about the fact that the All-Star race runs every 3 seasons. Of course, later on tonight, whoever ends up winning the All-Star race event, they're locked into the upcoming All-Star race, which will more than likely be at the conclusion of, season 64, if my math is correct. And obviously as well, opportunity for other drivers to pick up a Superspeedway win in the next 3 seasons to lock themselves into the All-Star race. But what do you think? Drivers maybe here tonight preparing themselves in upcoming Tally Challenge races? Because again, it's not the Aero 88 cars, but it is the same physics and it is the same racetrack that we're going to be visiting along with Talladega on Thursday nights when season 62 starts up.
Yeah, different mod, but same track, same setup, a lot of the same drivers. So, we got 2 weeks off. Some guys are probably going through withdrawals already, and you put this right smack dab in the middle of the off season, gives them a chance to mix it up and get the competitive juices flowing. And it's a low it's there's nothing to lose. There's no points, nothing like that, no penalties. It's just go out, have fun, go for the win. There's just one winner tonight and a bunch of losers.
The season openers always seem to be absolute mayhem, always surprising when it comes down to the end of it. Now, I attribute it usually to the fact that, there's no points that anybody has gained at that point in time. Everybody starts at zero, and it's an opportunity to kind of not necessarily put your feet up, but breathe a sigh of relief that you're already locked into the playoffs. If you get that first checkered flag on the season, you're talking about driver withdrawal. That might be the key component right there.
Yeah, you have a week off, and you get an early win in the regular season, knowing you're locked in the playoffs, you're locked into the next All-Star race. It's a pretty good feeling. It kind of changes your trajectory on how you drive, how aggressive you are with strategy and whatnot. So, yeah, and whoever wins this, they'll be, I guess the next race will be locked in for the next All-Star race for sure.
See Graham McDonald up there on the outside line. He'll be waiting for the lights to go out on the pace car to be able to go around, get his lap back. We will have 16 drivers running, and on the lead lap, Andre Mahjong will not make the All-Star race. He has brought his car to the garage area, joining Jeff Crivello. So that now brings us down to 6 drivers left as to knowing who will be eliminated from advancing into the All-Star race. Got a little bit of a soft spot for that number 61 paint scheme there, the Austin Hill Xfinity car, the ASIN sponsorship out of Hattori Racing. And he will be back in the 16th position when we go back green. Jessica Shelton is going to be the one to get us back underway. Ulysses Sandoval will be to our outside. Wiley Coate, Bob Dixon, and Ronald Lucey going to be the top 5. Currently, David Cannon still sitting in that 10th position. Second straight restart that he's been in the final transfer spot.
You mentioned the paint job you're rooting for. The driver I'm rooting for is there in that second row. My co-admin, good friend, Wiley Coate, giving a good run so far.
WD-40 car, so pretty sure that the axles and the hubs and everything in that race car is running smoothly with that sponsorship.
Sharp-looking paint. I think that's probably another Rodney Solon's creation, if I'm not mistaken.
So again, ready to go
quick
back.
Too.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to jump on you. I was going to say, it'll be interesting to see if there's any damage. Everyone was able to hold on to the draft last time before that last caution. We'll see if that's still the case here. And pitting's out the window now. So that strategy, or if you had an ace up your sleeve on hot pitting or taking a little bit less fuel, that's out the window. It's all based on on-track performance now.
I will be surprised if we have any drivers off the pace, because I think the 20 and the 54, for the most part, their damage was to the rear end of their race cars. Obviously, there was some left side damage for Johnny Van Gorder with the 92 coming up into him, and I think David Cannon, most of his damage would have been to the right side of the race car. I didn't see any of those drivers take any hard hits with the front end of the race car, which of course is where most of the aerodynamics come into place, and of course that's where the engine is housed as well. You don't want to have engine damage at a super speedway. Don't want aero damage either, but sometimes you can get away with just a little bit of aero damage to stay up in the pack. You can't lead a line, but you can at least still stay up to speed in the lead group.
Well, and with it being a smaller field, the speed generated from the draft's a little bit less, so if the draft's at 200 miles an hour and you're damaged, it's tough to hold on to it. If the draft's 195, and you may be right in the thick of it still, so maybe okay with a little bit of damage they have.
With Graham McDonald getting back on the lead lap, getting ready for this restart, bear in mind that we would have one less pacing lap under a caution period than we would if we had a lap down machine, so that kind of shifts the potential point of no return of a caution ending the race back one lap. We'll see if that will be the turning point of this All-Star Open. As again, if you just joined us, the top 10 finishers will take part in the upcoming All-Star race. We'll take a little bit of an FRN race break. We'll head into a FRN post-race wind down, try and interview as many of the transferees as we possibly can, and then we'll shift immediately right over to the All-Star race coverage here from BSR. A lot of drivers waiting in the wings, and I mentioned this on Monday night about the fact that we had a lot of the All-Star race drivers. They were in the server. They were observing everything that was going on. maybe taking notes. Granted, we had a lot of different facets to that race. The Open was 3 times wear. We had the fuel strategy race in the closing stages. So there was a lot for the All-Star race drivers to be able to notice and then apply when they got on the racetrack. What about in this one? Is there anything that those All-Star drivers could be going to school about right now?
Um, I guess being up at the front, some of these guys haven't been running much. They're part timers. You look at a guy like Crivello has been running throughout the season. He's up there in P3, so he's kind of shaking the rust off with how you run in a 20-car pack. Not that he's gaining anything on guys who've been running every week or in the Open, but some of these guys are gaining some experience or reacclimating themselves to something they don't do full time, at least on Thursdays.
It's also going to be interesting to see here as we get down to the closing stages. I think safe to say if you're running up inside of the top 5, maybe even top 6 or 7, you'll probably be in ride mode. You'll be comfortable with where you're at. You know you're transferring in. Drivers will be able to then set down a qualifying lap in the All-Star race. They were randomly drawn here in the All-Star Open, but 7th, 8th, 9th place on back, I don't think you can feel safe until you cross the checkered flag.
No, and it changes constantly. You see a lot of the lead packs running low. If that middle lane starts gaining ground, you may see some guys jump up there. If anyone goes to take it 3 wide, the middle lane may move low. So you'll probably see a lot of jockeying as we get closer to the finish here.
One thing about Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway that we normally see is the inside line is usually the preferred lane, but we are seeing now, and we saw earlier on, big strides being able to be made in that middle groove. You talked about the smaller pack. Could that kind of play a little bit of a factor into that middle line, be able to get a lot more momentum that we're usually used to seeing on Thursdays?
Yeah, I'm looking at the miles per hour. It was Milt. I misspoke. I called him Crivello earlier. Crivello used to drive the 80. Milt's the 80 now. But, yeah, they were approaching 200 miles an hour entering 3, and that's, I think the top speed I can get is 202, 203, and that's at the very back of a draft. So while the pack is smaller, the 62, Lucier is doing a heck of a job. They're pushing out there and generating some good speed. It's not a matter of less cars being less fast right now. They're humming.
Maybe with a smaller field, a lot less energy going on there, so better opportunity to be able to have the tight draft and keep the momentum going. As you mentioned, Milt Surratt up there on that top side, trying to edge ahead by a splitter on Jessica Shelton going into turn 3. Rows are pretty even all the way back here through to around the, it's like 14th, 15th position. Couple of drivers kind of at the back waiting to see what happens. Tom Dixon, Robbie Nisus, John Van Gorder. You got to be aware as well of the fact that it is race back to the line with all of these yellow flags, because if you see a wreck up ahead of you, you got to have a plan to be able to snake your way through, because it could be a difference between you finishing outside the top 10 and just barely inside of the top 10. We're getting closer to that point of no return here. Next time by, going to be 6 to go.
Yep, they're starting to push. I was just about to mention Johnny out there, Van Gorder, looking like maybe the wily veteran. Now it looks like it might be Robbie. Some of these guys are backing off, getting just far enough back to avoid a catastrophe. I know in that ALS race last weekend, I had a miserable qualifying spot. They had a huge wreck on lap 2. I was so far back, I just casually drove past it, no damage. So if they get racing and wrecking, Robbie's in a pretty good spot right now.
Milt's been able to clear. He's now out in front in that True Value Camaro. Ronald Lucet now the lead driver up on that top side, and Milt, looks like he wasn't sure if he wanted to hold the bottom or move up to that top side. He'll stay to the bottom here through 1 and 2. Can't do a whole lot of dancing around, because if you lose your momentum, I don't think they'll be too nervous about putting you in the middle 3 wide.
You've got to be committed. So to one lane or the other, you start darting back and forth, dancing around, they'll split you on both sides. They will not wait for you, especially with coming to 5-6 to go now.
Doug Kulik looked a little loose there through the center of 3 and 4. Was able to gather it back up, currently 4th on that inside line. Robbie Nisus went up the track a little bit there in 3 also, but everybody keeps it pointed in the right direction. And we hit the line here for 5 laps remaining in just the All-Star Open. We still got a main event All-Star race to run here in just a little bit. Dogfight up here at the front. Milt Surratt leading that inside line, but the middle line with Ron Lucet will not be denied. They keep charging back alongside.
Yeah, they ought to be careful. They're in a pretty good spot those first couple of rows. I see Terry Bombard back there trying to get someone to peek up there with him. He's been up there a couple times, taking it 3 wide, and no one's made the move. He's got to get some of those guys right in front of him to start committing to it, because they're starting to run out of laps here back there.
It's also looking like push is starting to become shove for a number of these drivers, and we've already seen a couple of bumper grab incidents here tonight. You'd want to be careful with the chain bumping, because that certainly could lead to a bumper grab incident, and it'd be a heartbreak if you're running up here in these first 3 rows of double file, knowing you're in a transfer spot, kind of almost blockading everybody else out behind you unless they form a third lane, and then an incident takes you out of a transfer position. There's a lot moving right there. Again, I think that was the chain bump again. Wiley to Jess to Milt.
Yeah, they're pushing. It's getting a little treacherous. You just hope they hold it together. Yeah, they've got, what, 3 laps still to go with all the pushing. I'm still waiting for that third lane to pop out there. We'll see if anyone makes a move that's further back.
Looking at that transfer spot right now, Bobby Farrell just barely in. Graham McDonald currently the transfer driver in 10th. Bob Dixon to his inside looking to take it. Also on the outside looking in, Tom Dixon, John Van Gorder, and Terry Bombard in that 10. The problem for Terry, as you were pointing out, he's the last car in line, so he's got to jump up there and hope that somebody bites. He can't really make a run on his own. He's going to need help being that last car on that outside line.
Yeah, and there's enough guys back there that are also out of the top 10. They've really got to start making a better plan than just riding 2 wide, because they're not going to push. Neither of these lines is really gaining an advantage. So if you're 6 car back in either lane, you've got to come up with another plan, because you're not in. You're running out of time.
With the way these drivers are stacked up right now, that final transfer spot could come down to a photo finish. This All-Star Open could come down to a photo finish, because every single lap it has been by thousandths of a second between Lucet and Milt Surratt coming back. We are at 2 to go. We have crossed the threshold of point of no return, so the next flag will end this race. Whether they receive the white flag for 1 to go, or if we have a caution between now and the front straightaway, all of a sudden, I don't know, it's like the outside line flicked a switch, because Lucet is clear. Sandoval almost got clear. And there goes the 62 down to the bottom of the racetrack to cover the yellow line.
Yeah, he may not win. Well, now he's going back up to the top side. He's not sure which lane to block at this point. He shouldn't block either. Just keep it low. You're in the right spot. The only thing that'll keep you out is getting wrecked.
Goes down and will block the bottom. White flag is going to wave. 1 more lap to go here in the All-Star Open. If you're at the front, you got a good chance of transferring in. If you're mid-pack, you're battling to either stay or move into a transfer spot. What's going to happen here with half a lap to go? A chance to make your way into the All-Star race. Lucet clear still on both lanes. Sandoval trying to generate a run. Milt Surratt with a good shot to the back of the 62, headed for 3.
Bombard's still trying to go high. Someone's going to have to make a move.
Just like at Talladega, start-finish line is down past the center of the trial, but the extra 100 feet could be very important. Lucet shades up to the top. He'll come back down to block the bottom. Milt Surratt right there behind him. Jessica Shelton and Ulysses Sandoval side by side for 3rd. Lucet's going to win the Open. Now we got to look for scoring and see who got the final transfer spot in. Scoring says 10th place was Bobby Farrell in the 92, who started this All-Star Open from the pole.
Yeah, Graham almost came from a lap down, missed it by 1 spot.
It's like Graham McDonald, Bob Dixon, Tom Dixon, Johnny Van Gorder, Terry Bombard, Robbie Nisus, the drivers that crossed the line outside of the top 10. So they will not be transferring in. We already documented Andre Mahjong and Jeff Crivello, who were back in the garage area. But Ronald Lucet, a driver that we don't see on Thursday nights. Normally he'll race in bare bones and Speed Freak, sometimes on Wednesday nights as well. We don't normally see him on Thursday nights, but hey, showing his super speedway prowess here tonight. And now the question is, can he double down and be able to sweep the night with an all-star race victory?
Yeah, really impressive run from him. Like you said, he's not a regular super speedway guy. He's more intermediate, short track, road course guy. Milt Surratt, part-time runner. Jessica, top three, solid run. Ulysses Sandoval, and my boy Wiley made it. So glad to see that.
Five car brings it home in fifth place. Let's show you the finishing results. 10th place on up, transfer into the main event. Glenn Harrison 6th, Denny Carroll 7th, Doug Kulik, David Cannon, and Bobby Farrell. Those drivers that will all make it into the show. 11th place on down. They will not make the all-star race here tonight. You mentioned there, good comeback there for Graham McDonald after being a lap down. Almost was able to transfer his way in, but comes up just one spot short, and looks like it was about roughly 8/100ths the difference of him not transferring to him transferring over Bobby Farrell. Some interesting names that are going to be intermingled with the drivers already locked into the main event. Now, what do you think? The extra track time that these 10 drivers were able to get, do you think that gives them an advantage? Not necessarily an advantage heading into the All-Star race, or do you think with it being a super speedway, there isn't really an advantage to be gained?
Well, for a guy like I said, Ronald Lucier, who doesn't normally run super speedways, this was great practice, and he passed with flying colors. He won the thing, so I'm sure he feels a lot better at this next race, having run this one. Ulysses, he's run sparingly here, but every time he's here, he's competitive. Denny Carroll's run a little bit with us. I know he's a really good racer and runs a lot of super speedways. So some of these guys, it doesn't really mean much the practice, but some of these guys that don't normally run, it was a good thing for them.
As we head into our FRN post race wind down, of course, there's going to be a little span of time for the all star drivers to be able to get out there, get a little bit of track time in practice before heading into qualifying. So that gives us the opportunity to, we'll see if we can run the table here tonight, maybe be able to get a word with all 10 of our qualifiers from this all star race. And let's kick things off with a driver that's already received a checkered flag here tonight. See if we can dial up the 62 of Ronald Lucet.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Ronald,
your
Josh, and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us? We'll give it another try here. Ronald, the guys up here in the FRN studios. You got us? He might be worn out. He may have actually stepped away to take a little break and prepare for
Oh
the
man, a
upcoming
few
All-Star
words.
race.
Man, a few words.
We'll see if maybe we can get a word with him in a little bit
User
here.
was moved out of your
We
channel.
might be talking to him in Victory Lane later on tonight. We'll have to wait and see. How about we dial up the guy that came home in second place? His back bumper got worn out in that final run to the checkers. Let's see if we can get a hold of Milt Surratt.
User was
Hey,
moved
Milt,
to your
Josh, and Seth
channel.
up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, yes, I do.
Man, I'll tell you what. Nerve-wracking race, nerve-wracking finish there. Obviously a transfer spot on the line, but a lot of movement up there at the front. A little bit of slipping and sliding there. We saw a lot of shoves. Were you at all nervous that maybe you weren't going to make it back around in a transfer position?
Heck yeah, my nerves were pretty high. I was shaking on the steering wheel. I was just trying to maintain and keep from being caught up in somebody else's mistake because that was nerve wracking.
So you got this first race out of the way. You talk about the nervousness there. Is that going to help you to calm the nerves and coming up to this all-star race now that you're locked into the main event, or you think the nerves are going to come back?
I think the All Star race is going to be a little bit less nerves because it'll be the normal guys that are racing every Thursday night. We all seem to race well together. So I think I can dial it back a little bit. I don't need to be in a position to move up. Although I'd like to get in a position to win.
For sure. Well, Milt, obviously, able to get that experience of what these cars are like out there on the racetrack. Is there any difference you felt with these cars as opposed to the Air 88 cars run on Thursday night? Are they pretty similar? What was the comfort level with the hitbox of these machines?
I don't really notice a big difference. I did seem pretty comfortable even with, Jessica behind me, probably getting hit from behind her. There was a comfort level that I didn't feel like I was spinning out. So maybe a little bit less of a or more of a hitbox on these cars.
Well, Milt, congratulations on transferring into the All Star Race event. Great showing for you. I don't think you ever fell out of a transfer spot all night long and lock yourself into the main event here tonight. We'll let you get prepared for that one. But before we do, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Hey, first up, I always like to thank you guys because you put on a heck of a show. But I also got to say thanks always to everybody that's in RTG. Great bunch of guys, Dave and uh, the team. I can't. um, yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, Milt Surratt, second place in the All Star Open. He transfers into the All Star Race. We'll let you get back at it. Get prepared for that upcoming main event. Best of luck.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it.
Let's see if we
User
can
was
continue
moved
going
out of
down
your
the
channel.
order. She actually had an All Star Open victory previously, and she's transferring into the All Star race, bringing it home on the podium in third. Let's see if we can dial up Jessica Shelton.
Buddy was moved to
Hey,
your
Jess,
channel.
Josh, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us? We'll give it one more go. Jess, the guys up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy? That looks like everybody's trying to get themselves mentally prepared
Buddy
for
was
this
moved
All
out of
Star
your
race.
channel.
Bathroom breaks or refueling, maybe.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, you heard from Milt about the nervousness there. Hey, you got to take a little bit of time to calm down, calm the nerves, and get ready for the next race. All right, let's see if we can get the fourth place finisher here. And that would be the driver of I gotta bring my list up. That would be the 096 or the 960, depending on which car you were looking at here tonight. Let's see if we can get a hold of Ulysses Sandoval.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Ulysses,
your
Josh and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Oh, I didn't know you interviewed top four.
Oh, we're interviewing all the transferee drivers. You guys all did a heck of a job. You deserve interviews. I mean, you had a good run here tonight. We saw you leading that outside line. How far were you in that outside line willing to push it there, though, knowing you were in a transfer spot?
Yeah, that's what I do. I've told you before. Every time I have the chance to, I just dare to push somebody. So when the 62 came out, I said, well, I pushed them to the win, and it was. I tell you, I can barely talk because that finished us what was wild.
We t-
Because at some point my lane was losing ground, and I said, "Oh, we're falling back. I'm gonna lose my spots." Luckily, that didn't happen.
we were talking moments ago with Milt Surratt, and he said that his nerves were at an all-time high there coming down to the end of this one. He's not expecting that the nerves are going to be quite as bad heading into this All-Star race. Where do you stand with that? Do you think it's going to be a little bit calmer? You'll be able to settle in a little bit better, or do you think the nerves are still going to be pretty high here when you take the green flag for the All-Star race?
I guess just the first few laps, the first 10 laps are gonna be calms, but then the rest of the race, well, you gotta make some ground.
Now, we were wondering too, anything that you were able to take away here with the Xfinity cars at BSR in this All Star Open that you're going to be able to apply for the upcoming All Star race, or was it kind of a cut and dry super speedway type of race, and you're just going to go out there and do it all over again?
Well, as I raced, as I was racing with the other drivers, I was, selecting. I'm just deciding who were the best that I work with. If this guy, if I work well with this guy, then I'm gonna work with him in the All Star race. If he was terrible on my judgment, well, then I'm not working with him. For example, Doug Hewlick, he's a good racer, so I'm planning to race with him. Jessica Shelton, she pushed me to the front before she passed me, but 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 you, they're all good. So I have my list of the drivers who I will work with.
Gonna be interesting to see who's on that list as you're gonna be trying to work your way up to the front here for the close of the night in this all-star race. Congratulations on transferring. We'll let you get ready and prepare for the upcoming main event. Before we let you go, though, Ulysses, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I kind of need some more water. A big shout out to all my buddies from NNCSRA, including you, Seth. A big shout out to you and all my buddies from Team Wrecking Ball. You know, Garland Oaks, Alex Ortiz, Zach Roberts, Pumpkin, Joshua Mercurio, and Javier Negron. Big shout out to them. Thanks for putting me to the booth, Seth.
Absolutely. Ulysses Sandoval, he's 4th place in your All-Star Open. He transfers into the All-Star race. Best of luck.
Wish me luck. Oh, thank you.
User was moved
I was going
out
to
of
ask him
your
about
channel.
if the no wrap made him more aerodynamic, but I don't know if he'd want to give that away because he might fail post-race inspection. All right, let's see if we can dial up the driver that brings it home in the 5th position, and he is driver number 5. Well, actually, we'll hold off a little bit. There might be some admin stuff going on right now with him. We'll definitely get a hold of Wiley Cope, but I don't want to interrupt them if they are actually doing something important right now in preparation for the upcoming All-Star race. So we'll skip over him just real quickly for the moment. We'll come back to him. Let's see if we can get a hold of the driver that brought it home in the 6th position. Let's see if we can dial up Glenn Harris.
User was moved
Hey,
to your
Glenn,
channel.
Josh and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, 10-4, Seth.
Well,
Hey, Josh.
we've seen you in these All-Star
Hey, Seth.
Opens before. You've always been strong, been able to make your way in. Here tonight, though, kind of back there in the mid-pack area, maybe in a precarious spot to fall out of a transfer position. How much energy, how much craziness was going on in your neck of the woods coming around in those final couple of laps?
Well, it was getting dicey there a little bit. You know, obviously a lot of bumping side by side, real close. Nobody wanting to give up any position. So, you know, just good tight racing, and we carried it clean to the end. So that was good.
We ended up seeing both lanes be able to gain an advantage on the other, kind of shifting back and forth. Kind of looked like that put everybody in a sense of urgency. I mean, we saw cars 4th, 5th place on back shoving the respective line they were in. Was that the difference maker into which line was moving, or was there some other mitigating factor that was allowing either the middle or the outside line to gain the advantage at certain points?
I think it was just trying to stay in alignment, you know, keep the bumpers real tight, locked together, and that was the line that prevailed.
All right, so you're locked into the All-Star race, getting ready to run here for 47 laps. A little bit longer than what you guys ran there in that All-Star Open. We obviously saw when the cautions fell, it took fuel strategy out of the equation. What do you think for this one? Are you, at least before we drop the green flag, mentally preparing for having to make a green flag pit stop? Or do you think that more than likely we're going to see enough craziness tonight and enough yellow flags at certain points that pit road won't necessarily be as much of a factor?
I think it'll be clean at the front end. We'll probably see a green flag stop early, and then the aggression will pick up in the second half, last third of the race.
Well, Glenn, thanks for talking with us here. We'll let you get back to practicing here in preparation for the upcoming All-Star Race main event. Congratulations on making it. Before I let you go, though, give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Flatout Racing for all you do for us in this series on Thursday nights. Certainly thank RLM for the platform they give us to carry on the races. And finally, the RTG Leadership Group do a great job here, all the admins, the staff, giving us a competitive place to race. So shout out to all those guys. Thank you.
Glenn Harris brings it home in the 6th position in the All-Star Open. That transfers him into the upcoming All-Star race. Best of luck there, Glenn.
All right, thank you.
User was
All right, I
moved
think
out
we
of
can
your
now
channel.
double back, and I think we can bring in our 5th place finisher, Wiley Coate.
User was moved to
Hey,
your
Wiley,
channel.
it's Josh and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I gotcha.
Man, I'll tell you what. Great run for you here, up inside the top 5 there until you kind of got shuffled back a little bit, but able to hold that inside line, able to bring it home in the 5th position. Lot of movement out there, though. Saw a lot of drivers sliding up the racetrack off of turn 4. Couple of potential bumper grab situations there. We've talked with a lot of drivers already up inside of the top 5 finishing tonight, and they said they were pretty nervous. What about you?
Oh yeah, my palms were sweating for sure, and it got pretty hairy there at the end with the 62 trying to block both lines and moving around, and everybody else moving around. It got pretty scary.
Yeah, what about that situation? Because obviously you're in a transfer spot. You don't want to do something that's going to cause a wreck, maybe take you out of the top 10. But at the same time, with the position you're in, you're kind of responsible of moving your line along with bump drafting. With the situation of the 62 swapping up, swapping down, stalling out that momentum, how difficult was it to kind of gauge yourself onto when to bump and when not to?
It was pretty difficult. I had to kind of keep it to the straightaways. I didn't want to do anything too reckless because, like you said, I was in the top 10. I had my place kind of locked in. So I was being fairly conservative, but I didn't want to drop too far back either.
Well, Wiley, obviously a great performance for you here in the early going tonight. Still got another 47 laps to run here. Obviously, we saw your strategy was get to the front, stay up at the front. What about here for the All Star race? Same mentality, or do you switch it up a little bit?
I'm just gonna try to survive at the beginning here. Let's see how the whole thing kind of shakes out. Of course, it's a lotto start because so we don't know where we're gonna start. That'll depend on a lot on how I run. Um, but other than that, it's play it by ear.
Well, Wiley, we'll let you get back to it. I know you got some admin duties that are going on as well. Congratulations on making it into that All Star race. Looking forward to seeing that car out on the racetrack again. Josh is saying that's his favorite car out there in the field in the All Star Open. That WD-40 machine, pretty slick. We'll let you go, but before we do, we'll give you the opportunity for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Thanks for Rodney. He painted that car, and yeah, I like that car too. And thank you to FRN. They've done a great job broadcasting all season and putting on a great show. And RLM's gaming servers, we wouldn't be here without them. So without their efforts, and thank yous all, and thank everybody.
Wiley Coat bringing it home in the 5th position. He's ready to go All-Star racing here in just a little bit. Good luck there, Wiley. Maybe we'll talk to you at the end of this one.
Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
Okay, next on the list, we've got our 7th place finisher, and that would be the driver of the number 41, Denny Carroll.
User was moved to your
Hey,
channel.
Denny, Josh and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, I'll tell you what. Was looking for a time like this 41 wasn't going to get up into a transfer spot. You kind of were riding at the back of the pack there first half of this race, but then found a lane, got yourself up there in a transfer spot, and never let it go. Was that all by design, running there at the back in the early going, or was it just kind of hard to make your way forward at that point?
Uh, I got damage in that first crash. I had to find me a place that was safe after that. I got a little damage in that first crash that happened.
What about here in this upcoming All-Star race with what you saw in that All-Star Open? Any in-going strategy to kick this thing off? Or we talked just moments ago here with Wiley Cody, said it's all really going to depend on where the random queue puts him. Is that the same for you?
Uh, I'm gonna stay off the high side until the end because anytime wrecks happen, they all wash up the track. And if you're up there, you seem to always get a lot of damage.
We ended up seeing here in this race both lanes really be able to gain an advantage. Obviously, the middle lane off the corner onto the straightaway, but that inside line was able to battle back heading into the corner, and it was almost a deadlock, almost a stalemate, it seemed, with both lanes with an even number of cars. Uh, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see the kind of same situation here, or with bigger pack, more cars, do you think we're going to see more of an advantage for one lane? Do you think we're going to see more drivers migrate up to that third lane to try and make something happen?
There'll be 3 lanes in this race. I about guarantee it.
We also, oh, I'm
The
sorry. Go
second
ahead.
lane in that other race would have been, I believe it would have been a little faster if those guys wouldn't have snaked around as much.
Now, obviously, we didn't see any green flag pit stops in the All-Star Open. A little bit more distance here in this All-Star race. How much emphasis are you putting into practicing for green flag pit stops in case we get to those? Because we run 66 laps on Thursday night, see a lot of green flag pit stops. We got 47 here in this one. Do you think that a green flag pit stop could be a difference maker here in the All-Star race?
Yeah, that's what separates the drivers. I pray for green flag pit stops.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing if it happens. Denny, congratulations on transferring into the All-Star race. P7 in the All-Star Open. We'll let you get back to it here. I think we're pretty close to getting ourselves gridded up, getting to that random qualifying draw for the All-Star race. Before we let you go, though, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Just thank you guys over here for letting me race in the open, and thank you guys for what y'all do. And I just wish everybody luck, and let's go at it, fellas.
Denny Carroll transfers his way into the All-Star race, P7 in the Open. He'll look to finish higher than that here in the upcoming All-Star race. Best of luck, Denny.
Thanks, Seth.
User was moved out of your
All
channel.
right, just get a little bit of a time check here. Josh, do you know how much longer we got till we're getting to that random qualifying draw?
Well, I think they're going to do qualifying times.
Oh, we are doing qualifying times. Okay.
I think the second race will be qualifying, and you were asking for a time. What we got?
Yeah.
Let me double check real quick.
Okay. Because I want to see if we do have time to be able to dial up 8th, 9th, and 10th. Doug Kulik, David Cannon, and Bobby Farrell, our last few transferees into the All-Star race event. Looks like a couple of drivers that would have been locked into the All-Star race not going to be taking part here tonight. Hence the reason why we had the number of transferee drivers that we did into the All-Star race from the Open. Joe DeSpirito, big congratulations to him. He's actually going to be getting married this weekend. We ended up hearing from Dante Ricky before we came on the air that he wasn't going to be able to make tonight's event. I understand Grant Wesley is out of town, so some pretty big names, some good Superspeedway racers not going to be able to take part in tonight's All-Star race event. As a matter of fact, we are going to be, I believe, guaranteed a different All-Star race winner in the past 3 years, because 2023 it was Joe DeSpirito who took the checkered flag, defending All-Star race winner, and the season before that, in 2022, it was Dante Ricky. So we will have a different driver win the All-Star race in the past 3 All-Star races events.
Real quick, a little bit of an update. I was told a couple things. Yeah, we're good for interviewing the rest of the top 10.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do. I guess there are a couple of car files that were late uploads, so I don't know if we can get those or not.
I'm
If not, hey,
sure.
they could have loaded earlier. And then I think Robbie's going to be doing the broadcast with you. I've been asked to participate in the race, do Eye in the Sky. So we don't have any eyes in the sky. So I'll be doing that. And Robbie Nisus, he's done some broadcasts for us in the past. Will be up here with you. So, but yeah, you can go ahead and do 8th, 9th, and 10th, and then I'll head down and get ready for admin duties tonight.
10-4. Do you have any idea who those last minute drivers were? Because I was able to actually bring up the page.
I think it was the 17, maybe the 096. I can double check.
096 is still a GNS car.
I was told the 17 should be up there. That's the only one I'm positive about.
Okay, let me double check because I'm not seeing it on my current list. Oh, actually, I do have the 096 now as well. Okay, looks like...
You may have it. I don't know if it's been...
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of ones that I know I didn't have, and we'll put them in and see if they all show up. Hopefully they're all the right ones.
Copy that. Copy that.
Okay. So as you said, we are clear to be able to do a couple more interviews here. So while we're interviewing, I'll get those cars put in. Let's now see if we can get a hold of the 8th place finisher from the All-Star Open. Let's dial up Doug Hulick.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Doug,
your
Josh and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Wow, 2 times in 1 week,
How
man.
about
What a
that?
joy I got, huh?
I'll tell you what. Hey, you got something for these All-Star Opens, it appears. You bring it home inside of the top 10 to transfer in 8th place. Now you're getting ready to go All-Star Racing. Looked like a lot of movement back in your area, though. That transfer spot, it kept shuffling back and forth. I mean, what was the confidence level when you were coming around there for those final couple of laps, being right on the edge of in or out?
I was happy being on the low line, but wasn't really confident, it was gonna, because the line seems to break up a little bit, or Bobby Farrell was just pounding me too, and I believe I almost wrecked twice just from some hits that he gave me, pushing me, which I appreciate in the long run, but when you're having it happen to you, you're like, oh no, bad things are going to happen.
It's interesting you bring that up, and I want to touch on that a little bit because we ended up seeing a portion where you kind of went up about a half lane rather rapidly off of turn 4. Was that the scrubbing off of speed that we know with the car getting tight on the bottom and having the 92 on your back bumper?
No, I think it was his pure enjoyment of just trying to push me hard and push me late into that corner.
So obviously, 29 laps here tonight, but only the top 10 transfer in a qualifying race, just like any other qualifying race for an All-Star Open. What kind of a sense of urgency did you feel beginning of the race, middle of the race? I mean, we know the sense of urgency was definitely there at the end of the race, but did you feel a sense of urgency when we took the green flag? Because we had a couple of early yellows.
I did actually. I was just gonna like buy my time, and Denny Carroll was behind me, and I've been racing with Denny a long time. We don't necessarily work together a lot or talk a lot, but he's a great driver and I respect him. And I just said to him, I said, "Hey, work with me," and he's like, "Yep, 23." And then we went to the high side and got caught up in that mess. And then he said, "I'm not going up there no more." So a little urgent, but they didn't beat on the car at all after that first wreck, which I was very happy about.
Obviously, the sense of urgency in an All-Star Open. What are you looking at here for this All-Star race? Are you expecting to see a lot of the same? Are you expecting a little bit differently? And how do you plan your strategy accordingly?
Um, these are some class guys. I mean, every one of these guys is capable of winning this race. I don't win a lot of races, but I feel I'm competitive in them. And as long as you are, putting yourself in the right positions and avoiding things that happen, I could be the all-star.
Definitely could. We may be talking to you by time the night is complete once again. Might have this 23 in victory lane. Well, Doug, congratulations on transferring into the All-Star race. We'll let you get back to some more practice there in preparation for the upcoming main event. But before we do, we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Big shout out to the family. My son up in North Dakota. Hopefully he's warm. My daughter down in South Carolina. I know she's warm. My wife, who's just works really hard and lets me do what I want to do when I want to do it. And thank God for being a savior of us all.
Well, Doug Kulik, 8th place in the All-Star Open. He's getting ready to go All-Star racing here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Best of luck there, Doug. Maybe we'll get to talk with you later on this evening.
I hope so. Take care.
User was moved
All right,
out
couple
of your
more
channel.
drivers to dial up here. Let's see if we can get a hold of our 9th place finisher here tonight, that gold RTG machine. See if we can get a hold of David Cannon.
User was moved
Hey,
to
David,
your
it's
channel.
Josh and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I just sat down. I do now.
Well, there you go. Perfect timing. I mean, man, as I go down this list, continue down 8th. Now you were 9th. You're around that transfer spot. I think on the 2 restarts we had there, you were 10th place in the transfer spot. Seemed like you're around that area all night long. How nerve-wracking is that?
I did not want to move. I did not want to go low. I wasn't going to go high. I was going to stay right where I was at.
stay on the person in front of me's rear end and just hope for the best.
How much of a sigh of relief was there when you crossed the line above that cut line?
I had to whisper to somebody and ask what place I placed in because I wasn't, they told me I did ninth. I said, oh, because I thought I was 11th. So, but yeah, that was pretty awesome.
All right, now you're getting ready to go All-Star Racing. Obviously, the nerves were pretty high in that All-Star Open. Where are we sitting at as far as comfort level when the green flag drops for some All-Star Racing?
Oh, totally comfort. I mean, I'm not, like I said, there's a lot of champions out here, a lot of pros and stuff like that, and I'm just going to have fun. Wherever I place, I'm fine with it. If I get a chance to get up in that top 5 and then try to make a move, but yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you're able to do, able to get yourself up into the top 10, stay in that top 10 position, and be able to transfer your way into the All-Star race. Congratulations. Before we let you get back to it, I know you're out there turning some laps. Floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Oh, I just want to thank everybody that races here at Rolling Thunder Gaming because if it's not for them, we don't have a Rolling Thunder Gaming. I want to thank all the admins and staff, and I want to thank you flat out. I mean, like I said, it's everybody else, all you guys that make this a show and make this a family and fun. So just thanks you to everybody.
Well, David Cannon, he's getting ready to hop aboard that 003 machine. Get ready to go All-Star Racing here tonight at Burt Scribers Raceway. He transferred his way in the All-Star Open. Congratulations once again, David, and maybe we'll be able to talk with you down in Victory Lane by the end of the night.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Seth.
David Cannon, the next to last
User was
driver that
moved out
transferred
of
his
your
way in, and now we'll see if we get a hold of the driver that got that final valuable position. He got 10th place, and he's getting ready to go All-Star Racing. Had good starting track position at the beginning of the night. Let's see if we can dial up Bobby Farrell.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Bobby,
your
Josh,
channel.
and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
I hear you loud and clear.
I'll tell you what, random qualifying draw was good to you, got you the pole position to start out the evening, but as the race waned on, you started falling a little bit further and a little bit further back. By the end of the night, by the end of that race, you're back fighting for a transfer position. We just talked with David Cannon. He didn't even look at his F1 to see where he crossed the line. He had to have somebody else tell him. How much were you looking at that F2 or that F1 to see if you were going to get that transfer spot?
Well, you know how in real racing they say they look out of the mirror more than they look out the front windshield.
Oh, yeah.
Front windshield. I was looking at F2 more than I was looking out that front windshield. Every lap, as soon as we cross the line, I'm checking my eyes down and giving a double take to see where I was at. I was curious, had to know where the 11th place car was or the car behind me. So I was checking them pretty often.
You know, we talked about the fact that in this open race, it seemed like both lanes were pretty even in the number of cars, pretty even in terms of energy. How much of a helpless feeling when you're back there, that fourth or fifth car in line, back fighting for a transfer spot, having to kind of rely on the fate of the line you're in to be able to get you that edge, to be able to be above the cut line?
Yeah, it's definitely rough, especially for me being on the inside line. You got somebody on your outside, so you can't move. You don't have that option to try and go up to the third lane or start a third lane so it's definitely a nail biter being down there in that low lane like that.
So you had the benefit of starting on the front row for the Open. We understand that drivers are going to be allowed to put down qualifying laps here to set the grid for the All-Star race. What are we thinking? Are we qualifying to try and start up at the front again? Do we maybe ride at the back for a little bit? Do you have a pre-race strategy heading into this All-Star race?
Pretty much everything I do on a normal super speedway night is what I'm doing here. I mean, I'm gonna try and turn a qualifying lap. I've never been good at qualifying, so I usually start mid pack to and further back. But I'm usually pretty able to at least work my way up towards the front, and then see how any cautions or pit stops, green flag, yellow flag, pit stops work itself out, and hopefully we're at least near the front at the end, and maybe we can make some moves up there.
Well, Bobby, best of luck out there, getting ready to go All-Star Racing. Already 29 laps under your belt here this evening. Get ready for another 47 laps in the upcoming main event. Before we let you go, though, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I'll definitely want to thank RLM for keeping us going. RTG, if it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't have a place to race. You guys at FRN, always enjoy the broadcast here. And I got to thank my painter and say a shout out to his mom. She had a health scare this week, so he's been he's had a rough week. So I want to shout out to him and thank him again for my paint scheme, which is a nice little modified throwback to another good friend of mine, Jason Chinchuri. So we'll see if we can't get something done for these guys here.
Absolutely. That's Bobby Farrell. He got the final transfer spot, 10th place in the All-Star Open, to lock himself into this year's All-Star Race event. Best of luck, Bobby. Maybe we'll be talking to you at the end of the night once again. If not in the podium, maybe in victory lane.
It'd be nice to talk to you from anywhere, top 3 or especially victory lane here.
Absolutely. That's Bobby Farrell. He is the final driver who transferred
User
his
was
way
moved out of
into
your
the
channel.
All-Star Race event. As I mentioned, we ran 29 laps of racing there for the All-Star Open. Settle in, folks. If you got a beverage, as I'm going to open one right now, we got another 47 laps yet to run here in the All-Star Race. Josh, as you alluded to, unfortunately, we're losing you. We're gaining Robbie Nisus. You're going to be heading as the eye in the sky driver. But, I mean, with that being said, what do you think you're going to be seeing from high atop the tower here? Because a lot of drivers are saying, now a lot of drivers in this all-star race that have locked themselves in from wins and championships and all-star races, especially through the Talladega Challenge Series. So a lot of comfort level with racing with those drivers. Do we see an entirely different race here in the all-star race main event than we saw in the Open?
Well, I know on Monday it was a pretty clean open, and the main race got a little sketchy. So I think there's a lot of aggressive drivers in the main. There's nothing to lose. There's only one spot that counts. So I think you'll see some aggressiveness and hopefully some good racing to go with it.
Looks like we are also good to go. I believe I've got all the paints that were on the racetrack, including we'll actually get to see the 096 this time. But Josh, I appreciate you joining me up here for the Open. Really appreciate your insight. Always love to get it when we have the drivers up here. They say it's entirely different from behind the wheel up in the booth as far as the perspective, but it's really cool to be able to hear the driver's perspective with what they're seeing and what they have of previous knowledge down there on the racetrack. Appreciate you joining me up here for this Open race.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's always fun. Don't get to do it very often. I can't say unfortunately, but all of our admins qualified through, so someone's got to do eye in the sky. So I will be racing and adminning, or calling stuff real time. So that'll be something new tonight. So yeah, Robbie unfortunately didn't make it, so we're going to drag him up, and he's a good guy. He'll be a good coworker tonight.
Absolutely going to be another driver that we'll be able to get some
User was
insight
moved to
from
your
as
channel.
well. I think he's done standing over there in the studio corner. Robbie, welcome here. Obviously, commiserations for not being able to make it into the All-Star race, but welcome to the booth here tonight in preparation for the main event.
Good luck, guys. I'm going to bounce.
All right, take it easy, Josh.
Yep.
Well, Seth, I want to thank you
User
for
left your
giving me this
channel.
opportunity. It's been a few years, I think like 3 or 4 since I've done one of these. But yeah, I mean, that's the joys of super speedway racing. Some people use their big boy brakes, some people use their ARCA brakes, and some people are the givers, some people are the takers. And in my case, I took.
Well, I mean, it's the All-Star race. There's no points on the line. There's no championship on the line. You're running for a transfer spot. So what do you think? Now with it being the All-Star race event, we're going to see a lot more take than we are give here, since not a whole lot hangs in the balance outside of obviously a checkered flag and a locked-in spot into the next All-Star race.
Well, Seth, honestly, I question because we have like 2 or 3 people that did make the super speedway race, and congratulations to them that this is their first one of their first TV races, one of their first big RTG events, and sometimes it does go to your head a little bit.
Let's go down the list of a couple of, or quite a few drivers, some drivers that we're used to seeing go to victory lane at super speedways that aren't in the field here tonight. Dante Ricci, we understand, wasn't going to be able to make it here tonight. Joe DeSpirito, those are your two previous All-Star Race winners from 2022 and 2023. Grant Wesley, who's always a force to be reckoned with, not going to be in the field here tonight. Josh was up here for the Open. He's going to be the eyes in the sky for the All-Star Race. Another driver that would have been locked in. I mean, it seems like the playing field's pretty open for quite a number of drivers here to be able to get a checkered flag tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be guts over glory. Do you have enough guts to get to glory?
Drivers are currently in the process of laying down qualifying times. We'll bring those up as soon as they are complete. And then I don't know how long they're going to have for happy hour before they get ready to grid up and go green. Obviously, a few cautions in that All-Star Open there, Robbie. What do you think? I've been talking with a lot of the drivers here, and most of them feel that we're going to see, especially in the early going of this race, long green flag run, maybe the possibility of a green flag pit stop. And we've seen so many times how green flag pit stops always seem to change the landscape of a race, sometimes for the better for a driver and sometimes for the worst.
Yeah, I don't know if for those of you that may have missed Monday, which was the Speedway All-Star race, we did go pretty much, I think we had one caution for the whole race. And, what you're looking at here is kind of the cream of the crop. I mean, I'm going through some of these names of the guys that have qualified, and I've run with some of these guys going back 20, 25 years now. And, they're smart. They're not going to go out and just throw it into the corner one and hope it sticks. It's not possible to them. It's a long thing. And I noticed that when I was watching a little bit of the practice, guys like Chuck McClure and Mark Paglia and stuff like that, and even Jeff Crevel, they're not up there trying to push an agenda. They're just like, okay, I'll let it come to me. And when it does, I'll pounce.
I want to touch on something that you said earlier about a number of drivers that transferred their way into the All-Star race. This is their first TV race here for RTG in an All-Star race capacity. I look at this list, and obviously, it was kind of documented with some drivers uploading some race cars late. There was some race cars that were uploaded prior to the All-Star Open, which means that apparently they were drivers that had not yet raced in Speed Freaks, the Tuesday night series that ran this mod. They going to have to go through a period of adjustment to get used to this race car?
I kind of would like to hope that the Open was their adjustment period, and hopefully some of our more experienced guys sit down and said, "Hey guys, you had a good race. You made it into the All-Star race, but this is like going from AAA into major leagues. You got bigger expectations with a bigger paycheck."
It's like we're going to have a total of 23 drivers that are going to take the green flag here tonight. That would mean that there would be 13 drivers that were locked in. And we'll go down through the list of those drivers and the criteria of how they got in. And of course, the 10 transferees from the All-Star Open. And we're already kicking off the All-Star race with a bang here, Robbie. A tie for the pole position in terms of at least down to the 1,000th. I don't know how they got the scoring to be able to see the 10,000th, but Mark Paglia, Rodney Sullivan's going to be the front row, both clocking in at a 51.952.
Yeah, that's a little bit unusual for this style of racing, but not unheard of. And I mean, if you look at the top 5 right away, you've got, well, heck, honestly, top 10. I mean, you go all the way down to Grant, Chuck's in 11th, Greg Palmer in 12th. I mean, there is quite a varied, and then you got several time champions like Brian Schilling, who's in his normal starting position of the last page, as we call it.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if he wants us to call out his lap time, but I'm going to do it anyway. 2-minute, 13-second for Brian Schilling. Maybe, I guess, guaranteeing him starting at the back of the pack. Looks like our highest starting transferee driver from the All-Star Open, Doug Hewlett, going to roll off from the 4th position. And yeah, I have to amend a previous statement because I had Grant Wesley in the list of drivers that was not going to be in the event tonight. And as you mentioned, he clocked in at 10th place here. He will be taking the green flag here this evening. Yeah, looks like 23 drivers officially going to be taking the green flag here tonight. I have been told that we're only maybe about a minute out from when these drivers will grid up. They're having an expedited happy hour session. They're given 10 minutes, but they're only going to use 5. And then they will grid up and get ready to go racing here tonight. Let's go down the list real quickly here of the drivers that would have or are locked in and the criteria of how they were locked in. Dante Ricky was a 7-time Superspeedway winner. This was between the last 3 seasons, season 59, season 60, and season 61 that just wrapped up. He was also the 2022 All-Star Race winner and the season 61 Speed Freaks champion, the series that runs this Xfinity mod. Joe DeSpirito would have been locked in, but he's going to be getting married this weekend. He was a 5-time Superspeedway winner in the last 3 seasons, also the defending All-Star Race winner. He also won the bracket championship in seasons 59 and 60. Chuck McClure, who's in the field here tonight, looks like he's going to be starting from the 11th spot. He was a 12-time Superspeedway winner in the last 3 seasons. Grant Wesley, who was the Talladega Challenge champion from season 59, also an 11-time Superspeedway winner. Jeremy Jeffries, who is going to be starting shotgun on the field here tonight, the defending Talladega champion, or Talladega Challenge champion from season 61, also the Talladega Challenge bracket champion, and the Speed Freaks champion from season 60, an 8-time winner as well at a Superspeedway in the last 3 seasons. Greg Palmer, he's gotten 5 victories at Superspeedways in the last 3 seasons. Rodney Sullins, 7-time winner, going back to season 59. He was also the season 59 SS champion. Brian Schilling, he is a 5-time Superspeedway winner in the last 3 seasons. And as you alluded to, Robbie, a former Talladega Challenge champion. John Godfrey, a 1-time Superspeedway winner. Mark Paglia, a 2-time Superspeedway winner. Richard Martin, of course, the season 60 Talladega champion, Talladega Series champion, I should say, and he was a 1-time winner as well at a Superspeedway. Kelly Causey, 2 Superspeedway wins. Craig Hagley, 2 Superspeedway wins. Tim Nofsker, 2 Superspeedway wins. Same for Bob Seminara. Ken Roberts and Donnie Garrett are in with 1 Superspeedway win apiece. And then, of course, we've got the 10 transferee drivers as well, as drivers are gridding up here on the back straightaway. Robbie, what do the nerves feel like when you're down there sitting on the grid, getting ready for that half pace lap? What type of things do you think about in the cockpit before going green?
It's any other race. Don't spin my tires. Whatever I do, don't spin out in front of somebody, because the last thing you want to do is start the race with a big old punch in the side.
Of course, as well, long race incident that gives you aero damage or engine damage more than likely is going to end your chances of a good finish in the All-Star race. It was interesting. I was talking with Josh earlier about the fact that, you know, this being an all-star race event, maybe a little bit different in a driver mentality if you're involved in a wreck and you're not able to reach the conclusion. Where for you would the disappointment level rank in regards to an all-star race or a points-paying event?
Which one would I be more upset about getting beat out of? Oh, honestly, I would say a regular points event, because, I mean, that's kind of where the soup's made. I mean, you can, you know, like they say about races like this, wreckers or checkers, or checkers or wreckers, whichever way you want to put it, you know, either come home with the check or come home with the steering wheel. And that's kind of was my mentality for a long time. I mean, you know, I did lose my leg about 4 years ago, and so unfortunately my win total has not been so well, hasn't went so well since then. But yeah, I would rather win the overall series than this, even though this is nice. And it looks like we're getting ready to go green, Seth.
That Chevrolet pace car heads on to pit road, puts the field in the hands of the Motorcraft Ford Mustang of Mark Paglia. Rodney Sullins to the outside, then Tim Nofsker, Doug Hulick, and Ken Roberts going to be the top 5. 47 laps here in this all-star race event, and we're ready to go green here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and it's waving.
Looks like Mark Paglia got a little bit. Oh, now he's coming back. It looks like he's had a slow start, but he's coming back on the inside with the help of. Looks like. Anyways, he's got a lot of help right there. That inside's pretty tight, which it has seen lately. The inside has been the predominant here at BSR, or as we call it, Burnt Screwdriver Racing, in the hills of Bentonville, Arkansas.
Saw a couple of drivers there already shifting from the middle line down to the bottom of the racetrack. Grant Wesley appeared to be one of them. Another driver further back, I think that was our All-Star Open winner, Ron Lucet, who now jumps back up to the middle, and that puts David Cannon way up on the outside line. How about Ken Roberts jumping up there? He wants to lead that middle line. The Wickers number 55. Of course, we saw him with the Wickers sponsorship last Saturday in the Team Elmo 200, benefiting the ALS Foundation, and giving that machine a good run here in the early going. Saw a little bit of movement there of cars pushing up off of turn 2. Now, obviously at Talladega and Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, we talk about that as the speeds kick up, that car on the inside line drifts up, the car gets tight. Did you feel it? Whoa, Kelly Causey on the apron there. I mean, did you feel that tight sensation just as much, or maybe a little more here this evening?
Personally, I felt it a little more this evening because in my situation, the last thing I want to do was to do something that would bring out a caution, and I would say,
oh, we got Rick in the back.
A little late saying caution.
Donnie Garrett in the 7 here tonight, that Justin Allgaier machine. Glenn Harris, who transferred in through the All-Star Open. David Cannon as well, one of our transferees. Caution is out. And I believe, did the field? Yeah, I guess the field did already take the yellow flag. I wasn't sure at the timing of that if they had to race back around or not. But looks like they're waiting on the back straightaway here to pick up the pace car. At least 3 drivers involved in that one. There they are, the 003, the 7, and the 08.
And Seth, for those that may not watch our broadcast every week here on FRN, this is a little bit something different that is part of the All-Star format. As you can see, Mark is waiting on the pace car because we don't freeze the field till we get to 10 to go. This is race back with caution till you take the the checkered flag starting the caution. But imagine everybody's probably going to go in, and if nothing else, top off with some fuel.
You know, I was mentioning earlier about the fact that a lot of the drivers here, they run in the Talladega Challenge Series, which runs with the Aero 88 cars. Period of adjustment had to kind of be made there, swapping over from the trucks to the stock cars. And a lot of those drivers may or may not necessarily have run a Superspeedway race in Speed Freaks on Tuesday night. We saw this a couple of times in the Open, and it looks like here in the All-Star race, first caution coming out due to bumper grabs. So there's something here about these Xfinity cars that are wanting to have the front bumper grab off the back bumper. You see, there's not a whole lot of movement, but just enough with Glenn Harris coming down, coming back up, and then the hook off of the 88 of Grant Wesley.
Yeah, you're right about that, Seth. It doesn't take much, but it just takes just that little bit. I mean, I was involved in that first yellow, and luckily, looking wise with the carbon fiber bodies, it looked like I was in pretty good shape. But I could tell the rest of the race, I could never really pull up to the guys behind me, which probably kept me from transferring, and because I would have had the time between races to do some fixing, but. That's, like I said, that's part of the fun of super speedway and all-star racing. Is you just got to take what you get and hope for the best.
Didn't look like heavy hits taken there by any of the machines involved. We'll have to see if they're up to speed. We'll eventually know that probably about a full lap and a half when these drivers are back up to full song for the upcoming restart. Michael Norman in our YouTube chat here tonight. I have noticed you, Michael. Michael at work here this evening, and we've also got Rodney Sullivan's father saying 38 bring home at least the steering wheel. So I guess the 38's of Rodney Sullivan's has been given permission to go all out here tonight to claim an all-star race victory. Let's talk a little bit more about the hitbox here with these cars, because I love how the next-gen cars look out on the racetrack and everything, but in my opinion, they are some of the toughest cars to race a super speedway with, because visually, you don't look like you're bumping the car in front of you. Look like there's space, and next thing you know, there's either late contact going into a corner or bumper grab comes into play. Do you feel the same kind of thing here with these? Does it look like you're visibly on somebody's back bumper, or is there kind of that little bit of gap that is a bit deceiving?
Well, this mod is got a few years on it, not a lot. So it's a little different. What you're getting is with the ones like the next gen is they're so new, and they're probably getting pretty close to trying the physics out, outliers for this game. You got to remember, up until not this January, but the January before, I raced 20 some years on this game on an XP computer.
Don't have the lights out just yet. Probably get them out the next time by. I'm noticing a lot of drivers mid-pack rear of the field. They keep diving down pit road to top off the fuel tank. Maybe getting that early caution. Drivers will settle in a little bit, get ready for a long green flag run, but it looks like for a number of other drivers, namely Ken Roberts and Craig Hagley, they want the track position over the fuel. Those were the only two drivers so far that have not come to pit lane under this caution period. You like this call? Do you like being out in front right here, even though you might be at a bit of a fuel disadvantage to everybody else behind you?
I myself, yes. Then again, I'm a little bit of a gambler. As long as I get a good restart, chances are towards the back, the tighter it is in the front, the tighter it gets as you go back. And what they're kind of hoping for is that somebody in the back takes out somebody, even though I can tell you right now, as running a couple of these now this week, the admins are pleading, come on guys, just like a restart, run your race, don't crowd, be on your game. And I can tell you that Paglia and Tim Knopfinger are probably a little concerned because they're like, well, what if they spin because their tires are going through another cycle? That's just something in the second row's head after Mark led the first 4 laps before that caution.
Should get the lights out this time by. We talked about the fact there's no points, no championship on the line. There's obviously bragging rights. There's an opportunity to lock yourself into the all-star race at the conclusion of each respective series in season 64. But how about maybe making a statement as well? I mean, do you think that whoever ends up taking this checkered flag tonight, if they race regularly in the Talladega Challenge Series, when we get ready to start off season 62, a lot of drivers are going to be looking in their direction saying he could be a force to be reckoned with this season?
Yes, and I do also think, my opinion from watching not only participating in the 2 opens, but watching the Speedway Championship last night or Monday night, probably going to be somebody with that Talladega Challenge experience, because basically it's like coming home and practicing in your backyard.
Absolutely. Well, we got those lights out at the top of the pace car now. We're getting ready to go back green. Lap 7 will go on the board when we are back underway. Ken Roberts and Craig Hagley did not come to pit road, so they'll share the front row for the restart. Pole sitter Mark Paglia will line up in 3rd place with Tim Knopfsker to his outside. Rodney Sullins and Chuck McClure, they'll make up row number 3. Row 4 will be Greg Palmer and Milt Surratt, and then Bobby Farrell and Jeremy Jeffries. Going to be the completion of the top 10. Didn't take long for Jeremy to make his way up into the top 10 after he started shotgun on the field back in position 23. Pace car. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as pace car gets ready to pull off, like I said, row 2's concern is, can row 1 get a good clean start? because if not, it's going to get real ugly real fast. And I know ugly.
We've seen it both Talladega and BSR. Usually that inside line gains the early advantage. And then at Talladega especially, that inside line car likes to shift up to the middle line. We don't see that quite as much here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Normally that inside line car stays to the inside down the back straightaway, but we'll see what Ken Roberts does here as he gets us back underway. Looks like a good clean start for everybody. Maybe a little slow for the 23 of Doug Hewlick in the mid-pack area. But everybody gonna get up through the gears and take it into turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Let's see if that early yellow calmed everybody down, and now we kind of settle in and log some laps and maybe get ourselves into the vicinity of a green flag pit stop here in the middle of this all-star race.
And that's the goal. I mean, for all these drivers, they want that green flag pit stop. That's almost like a badge of honor, because that's one of the things we talk about. Hey, last week we didn't have any cautions, or we only had one caution, and we had how many green flag pit stops. You may not think of that as an important stat, but I can tell you there's 23 drivers out there that's their goal.
Looks like these drivers are now up to full song, and looks like everybody is up to speed. Bob Seminara, the caboose on this 23 car train, as Ken Roberts clear of both lanes, but staying committed to the bottom there with Mark Paglia. Rodney Sellens right behind him, and then Greg Palmer with the Hooters colors on his number 22 here tonight. Maybe trying to hope for a little magic like Chase Elliott was able to have when he won at Texas this past weekend. The first time that Hooters got back to victory lane in a Cup Series race since Alan Kulwicki back in 1972. So Palmer might be looking for a little bit of Hooters magic here tonight.
That was the last victory. Can you tell me who took the last pole in a Hooters car?
Oh, gosh.
You may not be that old yet, Seth.
Oh. I'm trying to remember other drivers that would have had the Hooters sponsorship. The only one I can think, maybe... Was it Dale Jr.? Was Jr. sponsored by it? No, Chase Elliott, maybe, I think.
No, believe it or not, Loy Allen Jr. in the number 27 Ford Thunderbird shortly after the death of Alan Kulwicki. I think it's not the next season, but the season after that, and he was a rookie.
Well, there you go. Yeah, my NASCAR history is a bit broken up, it's safe to say. A lot of my friends a lot more knowledgeable when it comes to the historics of NASCAR and rides than I am, but that is pretty cool. Well, Palmer didn't get the pole here tonight, so he wasn't able to channel that kind of luck.
No, and on occasion, I haven't done it in a while, I'll pull out the Rick Mass version, the number 1 Hooters from, I think it's Leo Jackson, I believe was number 1, with a number 1 car. But I remember when we went down there for telling on myself, my 30th birthday, Rick Mass was just bringing out the Hooters, like I said, the Hooters number 1 with the orange on the bottom and the blue top. I always thought that was, to me, the best. I can't say quintessential. I just did. One of the best schemes that Hooters ever brought back, because it was clean and it was fast.
A lot of fast-looking paint schemes in this field here tonight, and they were organizing a third lane behind the All-Star Open winner, Ron Lucet. And all of a sudden, he is a man on a lonely, lonely island because everybody has migrated to the middle, and he is going to the back.
As long as he can slide in there right behind, there you go. See, he slides in, so he'll be okay. Looks like two of them slid in there on the top side. And basically, see, you were right. They did calm down a little bit by now. There had been like 3 or 4 people cutting off or trying to, take a lane. And what I'm watching and what I'm seeing is, for the most part, people are staying in their lane. The bottom's not coming up and pushing the top out, and the top's not squeezing the bottom, which is a good thing, which means better chance at green flag pit stops.
I'm gonna have to keep amending my notes here tonight. First, Grant Wesley wasn't going to be in the race, and he is in the race. Josh Metallic said he was going to be in the eye in the sky. Nah, he's up on the top side there behind Bob Seminara. That bright orange machine, second in line. Now make it third in line with Jeremy Jeffries jumping up there. And, well, Robbie, the calmness went away. We're going 3 wide, 3 rows deep here at the front of the field.
Okay, and this is where, okay, if things hold true, the middle lane is probably going to end up dissipated, or, well, middle or upper lane is going to end up dissipated, and the bottom lane is just going to kind of run away with this, maybe 6, 7 cars, you know, by themselves, which is pretty close, 5.
Yep, exactly as you said. Top 5 get cleared. Milt Surratt jumped down there to the bottom. Craig Hagley jumped down there to the inside line as well. Right now, Milt Surratt, he was up in the 4th position, and with that middle line getting dragged back a little by the 3rd line, now the highest running of the transferee drivers from the All-Star Open in the 6th position, right behind Rodney Sellens. Look at that tight draft there, down the back straightaway, from Roberts to the back bumper of McClure to the back bumper of Tim Nofsker. And that allows you to be able to keep the drivers behind you from formulating a second lane, getting that momentum. Looks like now the middle line trying to form again. Jeremy Jeffries in the number 1 machine. I feel like he's got to be somebody you keep an eye on here tonight. Obviously, as mentioned, the defending Talladega Challenge Series winner here from this past season, but he just seems to have a knack at this racetrack as well. Picked up a victory here last season in the Talladega Challenge, and there was a season, I can't remember the exact year, but Jeffries ended up winning 3 straight races when we came to this venue. I don't know what it is about this particular track, but it doesn't seem to matter what type of a vehicle you put him in, whether it's a truck, whether it's an Aero 88 car, or tonight an Xfinity car, he's going to find his way up to the front.
He is, yeah, very accomplished racer, and honestly, I never have, I don't know that I have, but if I haven't, I'll take this chance now. The fact that the directors and owners decided to go ahead and make that change to Aero for Thursday, I think is a very, very positive move. I mean, I have easier time stopping with my one leg and everything, and I can't be the only one that may have had a little bit of trouble, say, with those trucks. For me, those trucks were like an ex-wife. They were always beating me over the head and asking for money.
Well, we definitely saw at the beginning of last season a little period of adjustment with the hitbox of the cars and everything, but we got to the middle portion, especially the end of the season. You could definitely see the comfort level ramping up. Drivers were not just pushing, they were shoving with those raced cars, making moves, doubling 3 wide, and looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do now with a full season under their belt in preparation for the upcoming 62nd season. As Nofsker continues to show the way here. Now, obviously, non-points event, so you don't get any bonus points for leading a lap or anything like that. But the same Superspeedway kind of rules apply, that lead car, while he's out in front where it might be nice and safe, he's burning up the most fuel, so we start to get into the fuel numbers of when these drivers will have to make a green flag pit stop. He's going to probably be one of the first ones with his hand out the window.
If past is any proof of the future, then you're 100% right on that, because it's just physics. That car is breaking the wind. It's even helping the number 1 car to its outside because of the the conic. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I just played one on TV once, but the conic effect of him breaking the wind, so to speak, and I don't mean the way I break wind, but he breaks the wind, and it helps that's why that outside, or in this case the middle, is able to keep right up there, even though they're a lot more disjointed. Now, as I say that, the bottom line starts to fall apart into groups of 5 and 4.
We're going to start to understand as well just how much Ken Roberts and Craig Hagley were able to save there under that caution period, because as we come around, we're completing lap 17. Remember, Roberts and Hagley did not come to pit road. They're the only drivers that have not hit pit lane so far here tonight. We know the number's usually somewhere between 19 and 20 laps you can make it on a tank of fuel. As we approach that here, they might be able to reach lap 20, but I think they're going to have to come to pit road within the next 3 laps or so. Question is, are they going to come by themselves? Have they been able to maybe haggle for other drivers to come down pit road with them, even though they may not necessarily have to for another couple of laps. It will be interesting to see because, as you said, Robbie, they were probably banking on the fact that there was going to be a caution, everybody would be on the same fuel number again. That has not been the case.
No, but it's still, we still got almost about 30 laps to go, and I don't know if those of you watching notice, but in the 003, the yellow and black RTG car, David, well, we just call him Bones, made the move to the inside, now sitting in like seventh, eighth. No, now give it a little, whoa. See, this is what we talk about when they get going, then they'll be down there touching that yellow line, and that 9 times out of 10 will send you north.
That was the accordion effect, and it started with Chuck McClure and went all the way back to about the 6th or 7th car on the inside line. Look how that helped the outside line. Jeffries is clear now. Seminara into 2nd. Kelly Causey now slots into 3rd. Now he'll jump back up to the top to pick up Grant Wesley. Seminara will jump back up to the top. Looks like Jeremy's going to stay on the inside line. Going to be a bit of a drag race between these two. The Monster Energy machine and the Bob Evans machine to the line. Visibly looked like might have been Bob Seminara who got him.
And we talk about people from the back coming to the front. Brian Schewing, who was, like we said, he was in the starter stand practically. He has moved all the way up to 12th, so he went up 10 spots. I believe that might be the biggest riser so far.
Brian Schilling in the, I want to pronounce this correctly, it's Habana Brissa Chevrolet, number 4 machine. Of course, paying tribute to the car that was run by Bailey Curry in the Xfinity Series last year, painted by Rodney Sullins. Whoa, my gosh, that's close up there again. Oh, and David Cannon, hard into the wall. He gets Wiley Coke. Caution's going to fly. That's a big wreck heading into turn number 1. We're racing back. Craig Hagley was in it. There's David Cannon. You just barely see his machine through the smoke. Greg Palmer was in it.
The question is, do they race back carefully as inspected?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Will there be another wreck like that? We had that one where there was 3 wrecks and 1 caution.
We'll stay here with the leaders making their way out of turn 4, coming back to the yellow. Single file for Seminara, double file for the next 3 rows, then 3 wide for 2 rows coming back here. This is exactly the yellow flag that Ken Roberts needed. It was also the caution that Craig Hagley needed, but he got caught up in the incident, and Seminara will lead them back to the line. There's a lot of movement up at the front with Tim Nofsker and Jeremy Jeffries, and as we'll go back and look at the replay, I don't know if that then translated to checkup and what eventually happened in the mid-pack there with David Cannon leading to our second caution of the night or not. We'll go back and take a look.
Let's get the replay out. I can tell you from experience, when you're coming off that corner, it has a tendency to throw you up, and that's what it kind of looked like. Is that David Cannon kind of got sent up the track, and nobody had anything they could do about it, because those big cars they may look small, but trust me, if you've ever been in one, they're pretty good sized.
Another weird hitbox issue here. We saw this occur in one of the incidents in the All-Star Open with a driver getting into another driver's right rear quarter panel. Mark Pagley in the 28 right there. Looked like maybe a slightly uneven bump to the back of David Cannon. They were all checking up on that inside line in reaction to the incident further up when Jeremy Jeffries was getting back in line in preparation for the entrance to turn 1. And they just started chain bumping there. I believe that was Rodney Sullins who was behind Mark Paglia, and then Paglia behind David Cannon. Cannon took a big shot, though. We were talking about how so far here tonight we haven't really seen a whole lot of contact with the front end of the race car where the engine is housed, but the 3 definitely went head on into the wall. You see that right there as the one comes up. Everybody's checking up on that inside line. Cannon hard into the wall. Wiley Coe, Craig Hagley, Denny Carroll, Greg Palmer. Looked like they may have been the drivers all involved in that one. Donnie Garrett's able to sneak his way through. Bobby Farrell also did a nice job of getting past all of that. But we heard from David Cannon earlier on tonight after he transferred in. He said, I'm just happy to be here. Wherever I'm running is where I'm running. And unfortunately, he was running in a good position, but it went south in a hurry. And leads to our second caution of the night. An interesting time for this caution to fly here too, Robbie, in the fact that it saves those drivers that were probably going to have to pit, if not the following lap, the lap after. It saves all these drivers here from having to make a green flag pit stop. But dependent on when the lights go on the pace car, I mean, right now, when we cross the line, we're looking at 24 to go. That's just a little outside the window of these drivers being able to make it the rest of the way.
Yeah. Now, obviously, same cars. But earlier on that race, that last caution we had, not the very last, but the one we had with like 26 to go, when I went down the last time, fueled up all two drops, was up over one lap over what I needed to finish. But then when we had that last caution come out, I was 5 laps short. So I still had to pit. So these are one of those cars that can mess with your mind. You think you're set. Okay, that's one thing I don't have to worry about is my fuel. I just got to keep my nose clean, literally, and, not hit anything or anybody. And then boom, all of a sudden there shows up that. Now you got to worry about your nose again and your fuel consumption. And if you're the leader, like you said, that fuel just goes down. I don't know I listen to some of you guys' races when I'm not running, because there's certain super speedways even I don't want to run because I don't want to be a hindrance. But you guys didn't, with all your calculations of what percentage of this percentage of that percentage is going to be a percentage. And I'm percentaged out.
Well, I'll tell you, even we don't get it right up here in the booth sometimes. Sometimes I'll be talking to somebody, I'll be like, oh, you looked like you were about 5 laps short on fuel. No, I was good to go. Wait, what? So sometimes the calculators aren't always accurate up here.
Well, and some of it is racing lore. You know what I mean? You never admit that you can't make it. You want everybody else on that track to go, oh crud, 54 can make it. Shoot, everybody should be able to make it. But seriously, it's in their head. That's a driver that's mid to late pack because of things. It leaves openings, and it gets these guys in their head thinking, oh, now we got to step it up. And when they've got to step it up is where you get this here where people touch the inside line, and then kickboxing and break dancing and you name it, it all happens.
Should get the one to green this time by 24 drivers started this race. At this point in time, all 24 are still running and on the lead lap. All drivers involved in that previous caution came down pit road and made repairs. Only time will tell if they are up to speed or not. And a couple of drivers making some late dives onto pit lane there. Chuck McClure, Rodney Sullins, Jessica Shelton amongst those. Probably feeling that if they come to pit road now, they stand maybe a good chance of making it on fuel. They probably would need the aid of at least one more, if not 2 more cautions between now and the checkered flag, but we'll see if that strategy pans out. Bob Seminara, the last restart we had, he was out back. This time he's out front. He'll lead Jeremy Jeffries on that front row on this upcoming restart. Tim Nofsker and Grant Wesley will be row 2. Kelly Causey and Ulysses Sandoval, the highest of our transferee drivers, in row 3. Doug Kulik and our pole sitter Mark Paglia in row 4, and then row 5. Looks like it's going to be Ken Roberts and Milt Surratt.
An ulterior motive to dropping down there at the last second, that puts them behind, and they have a better chance of choosing what lane they want to be in, because most people think upper lane, best lane, fast lane. Also, super speedway, when there's a wreck, where the centrifugal force takes those cars right to the outside wall first. I mean, if I had $1 for every time that has happened to me, heck, I'd have at least $2-3.
Where, in your opinion, is the toughest place to avoid a wreck? Because we've seen it several different areas of the racetrack, and it looks like there's not a whole lot of lanes available. Even with the spacious back straightaway, we've seen where cars spin left and right, and there's not a whole lot of escape routes. You touched on the fact of, you know, a corner wreck with drivers migrating up the racetrack. Is that, in your opinion, the toughest area to avoid a wreck?
Yeah, because several times, you're going to find that by the time you see but the smoke comes out, there's at least 2, if not 3 cars in the wall. One of them may get stuck in the fence. I mean, you don't know, and it's what do they say? You don't know what you don't know till you don't know it.
Right.
There we go. As a pace car goes down pit road.
We're looking at a driver that might be able to put himself in the window to make it the rest of the way. Keep an eye on Brian Schilling. I just noticed there as they were coming off of 4, he just had caught up to the pace car. I think he was coasting down the entire back straightaway, saving hard. We'll see if it translates to something here as green flag back in the air for Bob Seminara. Lap 26 goes on the board. 22 laps to go. Mathematically, with the numbers that were normally given, that would put them about 2 laps short of reaching the finish, but several different things could come into play. We could have another yellow flag and they could save some fuel. We could also have the caution come out during the point of no return and they could save the fuel in those final pacing laps.
And those are nail biters because you think, okay, I don't have to fight anybody for position. No, worse, you got to fight your own car.
Jeremy Jeffries did get a good push from Grant Wesley. Thought he might clear around the top side of Bob Seminara. Again, gets some good momentum through the tri-oval, and I believe he now is clear on the 712. Already, right out of the gate, we've only completed 1 green flag lap on this restart, and the drivers are hankering to go to that top side. Rodney Sullins and company. Little sense of urgency here maybe for those drivers in the mid-pack realizing, hey, we just can't ride in line or else we're just going to keep riding in line in this position. We got to make something happen. Let's go where they're not.
And that's the key to super speedway racing. Go where they're not, but at the same time, you got to keep that draft because if you lose your draft, you know, you're watching your rearview mirror. How many seconds do I got before they're coming up on my tail?
It's like the 003 of David Kin, at least for the moment, is up to speed. It's like Josh Metallic trying to keep him there. Oh, maybe now dipping out. Damage might be too great on that car. We'll wait and see with him not having a drafting partner if indeed he's going to be able to stay with the lead pack or not.
On the restart, I was watching 17th through like 22nd, and that was Chuck and Brian Schilling. Bones was just a little bit ahead. Whoop.
Who's that on the back straightaway? It's Glenn Harris. He saved it. I don't even think he got the inside wall, but that car darted down onto the apron on the back straightaway. No spin, no caution. We stay green.
That did break up the field, though, if you look. Well, not the outside so much, but the inside broke up and the middle broke up a little bit. But right now, if I was going to put some money on it, I think I'd stick with the inside because they're reforming quickly, and there's room there for Josh to slide in. Instead, he goes high in the middle. Like I said, it'll be interesting here. We've got we got 18 laps to go. You know, so if there was to be a caution come out, not that I'm asking for one, because I'm not racing, it would be they should be able to make it the end of the race from there. 18 laps should be a piece of cake, barring over-aggressive driving.
You might get one because there's a lot of movement going on, specifically in that middle line. Kelly Causey, Tim Nofsker kind of blocking a lane and also moving to a lane. There's been a lot of drivers kind of swapping positions from about the 5th position on back. But how about Ulysses Sandoval? He said in the post-race interview he likes to push. Well, he's not pushing right now. He's out in front leading this thing. Seminara now behind him. And again, look at all these drivers. They're not necessarily fully committing to a lane. They're kind of what I call shading up, as if they're going to make a move, kind of testing the waters to see if A, somebody will let them in, or if they make the move, if somebody will go with them. And usually that's what leads to the four-wide incidents and more often than not contact that leads to a wreck. You got to pretty much, if you're going to go to a lane, you got to commit.
Yeah, super speedway racing, you got to, you know, if you don't make that call, you shade up just to say, hey, what do you think? They know what you're going to do, and they're already deciding, let's do the opposite, because chances are one or two will go with them. You bring your crowd. Next thing they know, they're like, what happened?
Looks like David Cannon has indeed lost the draft. Wiley Coates, he's just barely latching on there in the 5 car, and I've noticed a couple of drivers we should keep an eye on as this run goes on that have either been blinking or had a little side-to-side. Danny Carroll at the rear of the field, and second-place driver Bob Seminara has had some side-to-side. You don't want to have a car warping up at the front. We've already had some instances of bumper grab here tonight, and side-to-side warping is a huge proponent into bumper grab. Doesn't matter what mod you're driving in. Looks like it's settled out here for now for Seminara, as Donnie Garrett now pulls up to his back bumper. We're used to seeing Donnie Garrett in the 77 car on Thursday nights, but he was locked into this all-star race. I don't think he has run in Speed Free, so he didn't have a car prepared, so he just split his number in half, and he's in the 7 car here tonight.
After this, he may be trying to figure out if the Misters are going to let him run Tuesday nights, because third place for your first race, I mean, he's a good driver anyways, but to sit there and hold his own there in third place on the inside, because personally, I'm not a big inside driver, because I know that the car has that tendency to push up, and if the top lane is pushing down, that's a recipe for more than scrapes and bumps.
Yeah, he might like this mod after tonight. Bobby Farrell right behind him. We saw Bobby start the All-Star Open from the pole. Got the final transfer spot. He started this All-Star race back in 16th, but he's now making his way up into the top 10, knocking on the door of the top 5. And I try and not look at the 00 of Kelly Causey, because Jif Peanut Butter on the front, Wonder Bread on the back of the car. Every time I look at that car, I get hungrier and hungrier.
I was going to say, I hadn't even thought of it till you said it. Now you remind me, I got like a big old package of sausage in the refrigerator. All I got to do is throw it in Mikey for about 2 minutes, and I got me quite a dinner.
We got a microwave here in the booth if you're willing to share.
You might like it, but hopefully you don't mind what kind of sausage, because somebody in the booth can't read very well.
Whoa! Oh! Bobby Farrell around on the back straightaway. There you saw it. Pace car lights remain out, even though the 92 caught air. It was below the yellow line. No caution will wave, will stay green. So a couple of drivers have fallen victim to incidents off of turn 2 and onto the backstretch, but off the racing surface. First Glenn Harris, and now Bobby Farrell. And I'm going to stop talking about drivers, because apparently I'm initiating the commentator's curse again.
Uh-oh. No, I'm not going to do it, because I'd hate to think the only race I get up here that I screw somebody's race up. Because they'll be like, no, I never had this problem until Bob went on top.
Since it's your first time, we can't have the commentator's curse on you.
Ooh.
You're safe. Doug Kulick's safe right now. He's now the new race leader in that 23 machine. Ken Roberts right behind him. We heard from Doug Kulick. He said it was all going to really depend on how the race played out, whether he was going to ride towards the back of the pack or if he was going to get up there to the front. Apparently likes how that car feels out in clean air. But the thing is, when you're noticing these drivers working their way up to the front, it's pretty clear they're not saving fuel. I've been trying to watch drivers mid-pack, rear of the field, that might be putting themselves in a position to throw in the clutch but stay in the lead pack, not use up the fuel that they've got, and have to absolutely make a pit stop at the conclusion. And there's a couple of drivers I'm seeing back there that might be doing that. Brian Schilling might be one. I noticed Tim Nofsker's fall into the back. Mark Paglia has been staying back there, and also our All-Star Open winner, Ronald Lucet, has been staying back there as well. So we could have a handful of drivers that are willing to try and go the distance if this thing stays green to the end.
And it is a common super speedway tactic to kind of, lean back, use the other cars kind of as a fuel block. Oh, here comes our first one down.
It's Bob Seminara in the
Bob?
712. This seems a little early. And he's
Well,
coming down all by himself.
That's a little odd, but see, I figured around lap 40 we'd start seeing people if it stayed green and hard, fast. But it's not happening. Either Bob had something come up, or it could have been maybe he had, didn't change into his fire suit. And, nope.
Whoa.
Gas and go.
We just had the 88, I believe, of Grant Wesley disappear. And he's back. Woo. Right behind Rodney Sullins. Yeah, so to your point there with the gas and go, he's pitting at the window where you can come down and take a can of fuel, since we are at the 10 to go mark. Looks like another driver might have just peeled off towards the rear of the field here. Oh, no, that was actually Wiley Coate, who is losing the draft all of a sudden. He's now about 6 car lengths back behind Craig Hagley. So Seminara now all by his lonesome after coming down pit road by himself. I would have to assume that a caution is the only thing that can save him right now, because I don't see how he's going to be able to turn lap times that will cycle him back around to the lead pack if we end up completing an entire green flag pit stop round.
No, I believe what he's banking on is a caution in the last 7 to 10 laps.
Here come a couple more. Brian Schilling, Tim Nofsker, Chuck McClure, Mark Paglia all coming down pit road. So there goes my thought process of the 4 car maybe being one of those trying to stretch it. Looks like also Wiley Coate coming down pit road this time by. So 5 drivers pitting at the conclusion of lap 37.
I got to admit, I'm a little bit surprised that group of 4 there is pitting this early, because they're more known on racing circles, so to speak, as running the dang thing dry.
Well, I mean, what do you think? It's an all-star race. There's no championship on the line. Are they mixing it up? Kind of testing the waters to see what happens, see if this is a strategy they want to apply in the future?
Part A, yes. Part B, they know they have an ability to control the field in a way. And if all 4 of them came down together, which is what it pretty much sounds like, then, and see Bob's caught up with the back marker of that group that went, they will, that's 5, they will tighten up, and they will probably catch them by, well, not by 40, obviously, but before the end of the race. But, they say, hey, look, Chuck and Bob and everybody, they went ahead and they took a chance, and look what happened. They either they get bad luck and get stuck in a wreck, or they timed it just right and end up in victory lane or real close to it.
Looked like Chuck McClure had a pretty slow pit stop there. The other 4 drivers that came down pit road with him were way up ahead, midway down the back straightaway when he was coming out of 2. To your point, he's picked up Bob Seminara as a drafting partner. We saw a trio of drivers come down pit road the lap after, including Jessica Shelton, Milt Surratt, and our All-Star Open winner, Ronald Lucet. We've got about, looks like 14 drivers now up here in this lead group. Looks like for these drivers, they're waiting to pit until the very last moment, which is probably going to be somewhere around 3 laps to go. So most of those other drivers probably went with the can of fuel. These drivers are probably looking to come down for a splash and dash.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, because they're going to take the least bit as possible when it comes to fuel, because they want to be able to just, like you see, no tires, which means they didn't put in a whole can. Because if you put in a whole can, you can take tires, at least 2. So my guess is they're gonna congeal up and try to take as many of these. You got Brian all the way down to Ronald are all fighting to stay on that lead lap. But then you've got first 12, got like over a 30-second lead. So they're probably thinking in their mind that gives them one lap to, what's the word I'm looking for? Pace it, basically, not just pace it, but allow the car to control what it wants to do to save the most fuel.
We saw right there a trio of drivers diving onto pit road. So those that pitted earlier, they came down to take on a can of fuel. That group of 3, including Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Metallic, and Donnie Garrett, we're now in the window where they can come down and they can take on half a can of fuel to be able to make it the rest of the way. As looks like the radios are lighting up. I think we're going to have some more drivers diving onto pit road this time by. We talk about the fact there's no points or championship on the line. These drivers are here tonight to race hard, try and get a checkered flag, and, of course, have some fun. I gotta wonder as I'm looking at this right here, yeah, this is what I was kind of wondering about, just how much are you willing to overstep the edge on pit road entry here? Maybe suffer the consequences of a black flag, of going all out and trying to have the ultimate perfect pit stop on entry, on execution, and on exit to get out in P1, especially with this thing looking like it's going to be everybody merging all together with less than 5 to go.
And look who's sitting in the lead right now, Denny Carroll in the 41, and then the guys from the wreck, Craig Hagley, he's sitting in second. Well, he still is. Now Ken Roberts moved up to third, Doug Hewlett's in fourth, and Greg Palmer in the Hooters machine makes the top 5.
Looks like absolutely nobody was able to have enough fuel to try and maybe stretch it to the end. These drivers, the last 2 needing to pit, coming to pit road with 3 laps remaining when they or whoever eventually gets the lead hits the stripe. Ken Roberts, who had that really aggressive entry on pit road, looks like he might cycle out to the top spots. Doug Hewlett, Greg Palmer, Josh Metallic, Donnie Garrett will more than likely be the top 5, but you got little packs here that are all catching up to each other. Going to start to see some moves being made with different drivers having different momentum. There you see it. Going to be 3 wide. Metallic and Garrett going to go up to the top. Roberts and Hewlett on the bottom. Greg Palmer, no choice but to tuck in line there, 3rd place on the inside.
This right here, guys, is basically where you see how much guts each one of these drivers have.
Oh, man. How about 4 wide?
Hey, why not? I think we can't quite hit 5, but we can hit 4 with ease.
And now we're 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Brian Schilling trying to get the lead. Looks like Ken Roberts is going to emerge with it out of turn 4. We're at the point of no return here, Robbie. Next flag ends the race, and these drivers know it.
Which is going to amp up the aggressiveness of all of these racers, because they know if somebody bumps somebody or they bump somebody, you race back and then you discuss who bumped what and how it happened.
Race nearly ended under yellow right there. A little contact between Jessica Shelton and Donnie Garrett. Garrett almost got up into Tim Knopfsker. Nice save there. 1.5 laps left to go as they hit the back straightaway. Shelton shading up. Ulysses going up there. Nope, going to tuck back in line. It's going to be Shelton and Metallic. Donnie Garrett, there's an outside line foreman here as they're coming around to the white flag. The question is, though, can they get back to the stripe? Because that start-finish line, it's not in the center of the trial, but it's a few hundred feet further on down.
That it is, and that is where the danger lies. I tried it last night. I was in like 3rd or 4th place, maybe 5th. I would have went on, but I knew if I pitted, I was going to end up at the back of the bus, so to speak. And so I ran out of gas crossing the start-finish line with 1 lap to go, and I think I ended up 10th. Whoa.
Cars on the wall, they kept it going. Palmer out in front, Shelton pushed him there. Now they'll go down to the bottom. Metallic with help from Knopfsker on the top side. But Greg Palmer, I talked about that Hooters magic. He's trying to make it happen here. Got 1 more corner and then the long front straightaway to go. Knopfsker up into the wall, into Paglia. He'll get into Milt Surratt, who goes up and over. but through the tri-oval, Shelton jumps to the top on Palmer. Hewlick looks to the inside of her. Greg Palmer's going to win as Schilling is flying there up into the catch fence. Caution's going to come out. The race will end under yellow, but it is Greg Palmer picking up the victory here tonight in the 2023 All-Star Race.
Congratulations to Greg and all the drivers. I mean, it seemed to me a little bit cleaner race than we had in the Open, but you kind of expect that because in the Open we were just trying to make it to the Classic here, and these guys, they're just trying to survive.
Field got all split up with the varying pit strategies in the closing stages. Looks like 7 drivers were up in the lead pack when the dust settled. Of course, a number of drivers caught up there in those incidents off of turn 4 and through the tri-oval. Well, push was going to come to shove, and door bang was going to come to shoulder block. With this being an all-star race event, you knew these drivers were going to race it out hard, and indeed they did, but Greg Palmer, good move up there to the top. Shelton with a good push got him cleared, and Greg Palmer, who ended up having the luxury back in season 61, the Talladega Challenge, winning the first race of the season, knowing he was going to be in the playoffs. He now knows that he's locked into next year's All-Star race as well, as he'll burn it down here at BSR.
It was, I don't know, Seth, I thought that was quite a race. I mean, for my first one back in, like I said, 3-4 years, I had a lot of fun. And it is totally different watching. I mean, I've had a little experience of this from the hospital bed and stuff like that. Watching these guys go at it and then trying to figure out in your mind what strategy you would take and then smacking yourself upside the head for going, oh, well, that's not what the good guys do.
Well, I think a lot of drivers here tonight that were in the running for this victory, but ended up crossing the line with some damaged goods. I mean, obviously it's an all-star race, so they'll look back, they'll make notes of what they did there, and probably make some differences when we end up beginning the Superspeedway series and of course the other respective series. But here tonight, I mean, not just as much racing, I think experimentation came into play, trying to see, will this work? Will this work? Is this a scenario I can apply for later on when I'm trying to fight for a playoff spot or fight for a championship? So it will be interesting to see as we begin the 62nd season for all the respective series, if anything that was learned here tonight can be applied in future races. But we're showing you here your finishing results here from tonight. A couple of drivers did not reach the conclusion. Denny Carroll retired out of the race. We saw him, one of the last drivers to hit pit road. It doesn't look like he came off of, or he did come off of pit road. We saw him merging back with the pack, but he did not reach the conclusion. And Grant Wesley, we saw him disappear and reappear. Looks like the connection problems continued for him, and he did not reach the conclusion. 23rd, David Cannon, who had that damage from the second caution, also retired out of the race. But he retired of the race in this one. There's no points penalty or anything like that. So, when your car's not up to speed and you're not able to maybe necessarily compete for the win, maybe just watch it on the sideline there and see how it all shakes out. But we're going to be talking with our top 3 finishers here as we head into our FRN post-race wind down. One of these drivers, actually 2 of these drivers, qualified their way into the show through the All-Star Open. As a matter of fact, 3 of our All-Star Open transferees are represented inside of the top 5 here tonight, with Ulysses Sandoval bringing it home in 4th. But let's see if we can dial up the driver, the number 23, for another time here tonight. Let's see if we can talk with Doug Hewlick.
User was moved to your
Hey,
channel.
Doug, it's Robbie and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
I do have you, yes.
Well, we said, maybe we'll talk to you again later on here tonight. Here we are, 3rd place in the hunt for this victory in the closing stages, and bringing it home with a solid outing. A great night overall here for you at BSR.
Yeah, I'm having a really good week, Didn't do too bad on the Monday race, and definitely may consider switching to a Chevy next year, because let me tell you, this Yeti car was fast.
We saw you up there at the front, some incidents behind you there. Uh, were you boxed in? Was there anything you could have done? Because we saw the 55 was to your outside. Then looked like for a brief moment you might have been clear to go up. Were you just committed to that yellow line, or if you'd had the shot, were you going to go up there to the top, try and pick up another position?
I mean, I was like, okay, Kenny pushed me for a long time. Should stay with him. Should stay with him. And then all of a sudden, I was like, well, go to the outside, and you never know if someone's gonna go with you. So just that second of doubt of who will follow me, and next thing you know, Palmer's alongside of me. So hats off to him. He did a hell of a job driving, and just a little bit quicker on the thought process than I was.
I asked you after the conclusion of the All-Star Open if there was, anything from the All-Star Open that you would apply here into this race. Obviously, a question that came up as well was, were you prepared for potential green flag pit stops here in the main event? And we ended up seeing not only a green flag pit stop, but a crucial green flag pit stop with less than 10 to go. Did you expect that it was going to come down more than likely to pit road being one of the major deciding factors that close to the checkered flag?
Well, honestly, I'm just not the best pitter. I mean, there's a lot of other guys that can hot pit and get in there a lot quicker than I can, and I just haven't mastered that part of it yet. So I was hoping that it wasn't going to happen green flag, but it's always exciting when it is, and it's great viewers stuff to watch for you guys and the call. So I just seemed to hold on to that one for some reason and went in there, kind of maintained my spot, was happy about that.
Great job here tonight, Doug. You finished 8th in the All-Star Open to transfer in. You better that with a podium finish in the All-Star Race main event. Congratulations on the great night. It's going to be interesting to see here as well the drivers that did well this evening, if they can carry that momentum over into the Talladega Challenge Series in season 62. Obviously, a little bit more of an off week for you guys, a little bit of an off season before you guys get back on the racetrack, but looking forward to seeing if this will steer the momentum in the right direction when that new season kicks off. Before we let you go, though, once again, we're giving the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
I appreciate that. Shout out to my teammate Graham McDonald. He ended up finishing 11th in the All Star or in the Open. Had some issues with some uh, frame rates and stuff. Had to drop out real quick, but you know, good teammate for me, and we work well together. Shout out to my son who's in the Air Force up in Minot, North Dakota, and all the service members out there. Shout out to my daughter Bailey, hanging out down in South Carolina, doing what she does best, and my brother Ray out there in Apollo.
Doug Kulik, he brings it home. P3 here in the 2024 All-Star Race. Congratulations on the great run there, Doug, and enjoy the rest of your off-season here until season 62 kicks off.
10-4. I look forward to talking to you many times in 62.
Absolutely. Doug Kulik,
User
third
was
place
moved out
finisher
of your
here
channel.
tonight. Doesn't look like we have our second place finisher available, so we'll go right down to victory lane. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's race winner, Greg Palmer.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Greg,
your
it's Robbie and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got me?
Oh, I got you. How you
I'll-
doing, Seth? Hey,
I'll-
Robbie.
I'll tell you what,
Hey.
I kind of led this in when we were watching your machine out there. I think you were running around 5th or 6th at the time, and I said, Chase Elliott was able to snap the streak and finally get Hooters back in victory lane for the first time in 52 years. Maybe that's what Greg Palmer's channeling here tonight with that Hooters machine, and lo and behold, you put this thing in victory lane. That move coming to the white flag lap off of turn 4, though, definitely got to be the move of the race. At that time, did you think that was actually going to be what got you to the checkered flag, or was there still a little uncertainty?
No, when I saw the second line coming, when I saw Jess coming, I knew I had to make a move. Then, of course, who wouldn't? 2 laps to go, white flag. I was just hoping the guys in front of me, well, they did stay low because I had a nice boost from Jess when she bumped me going into turn 1.
Obviously, a strong car here tonight and good execution on pit road as well. We saw a lot of varying strategies based off of the numbers and everything of the time the drivers came to pit road. Looked like some drivers went with coming to pit road and taking on a can, other drivers taking on a half can, and then some drivers the very last minute coming down for a splash and go. Where were you in that perspective, and did you at any time think of maybe doing the opposite?
I was, I was going to stay out, but the last caution, I got caught up in it. So I had to take four and work my way up.
Now, obviously, we documented the fact, 5 super speedway wins locking you into this all-star race. We saw you at the very beginning of season 61 of the Talladega Challenge series. Go to victory lane, lock yourself up a playoff spot. What do you think about momentum here from this all-star race? Do you think that'll carry over into the start of Tally Challenge season 62?
Well, I hope so, Seth. I don't see why not. I have great teammates. I mean, Rodney, Ken, Craig, Milt, Paglia. I mean, we were. You saw it. We were up there most of the night. Couple of wrecks brought us back, but we worked our way back up. But I'm hoping and um, I have confidence that this will carry over till season 62. Yes, definitely.
Well, definitely going to carry you into the remainder of the off season for sure. Going to be heading into that new season. A lot of people going to probably be looking in the direction of that number 22. Bit of a statement win here tonight in the Super Speedway version of the RTG All Star Race. Greg, congratulations on the job well done here tonight. Bringing it home with the checkered flag, locking yourself into the next All Star race as well. And build off of this as well for season 62. Before we let you get back to your celebrating, though, the floor is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Robbie. I got to thank the admins and the owners here: Bones, Cannon, admins Jeremy, Josh, Brian, Tim, even Rodney too. Yeah, everybody. Got to thank Rodney for painting me outrageous cars. My Flaming Hooters Chevy, fantastic paint. My teammates, like I mentioned before, Rodney, Ken, Craig, Milt, Pags. John Goffey was not here tonight, so I missed that guy. Um, yeah, I just hope we all stick together and show what we're made of next season too.
Well, a big win here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway for Greg Palmer. He is the 2024 All-Star Race winner here for the Super Speedway style All-Star Race for Rolling Thunder Gaming. Congratulations on the job well done there, Greg. Go and enjoy this victory, and we look forward to seeing you build off of this in the upcoming new seasons.
Seth, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all you do up there in the booth, man. You call great races, not because I win, but because you do call a great race.
And because you win.
Okay, I'll take that. Hey, Robbie, too bad you weren't out there, man. Missed you.
Oh, well, I'd rather be up here helping this way than being in the way.
10-4, man. Have a good night, guys.
Absolutely. Greg Palmer,
All right, Greg, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
10-4.
He is your winner here tonight at Burnt
User was moved
Screwdrivers
out of your
Raceway,
channel.
your All-Star Race winner. Well, Robbie, we got treated here tonight. You got to take part in that wild All-Star Open. This All-Star Race did not disappoint, and we saw a little bit of everything here in this All-Star Race as well. A couple of early cautions, drivers forcing the issue, double and three wide. Then we got down to the end of this thing, and as usual, it always seems like these super speedways now, fuel seems to be the big topic. When we get into the second half of the race, we saw everybody try and execute those pit stops, get themselves merged into that lead pack for the conversation to be in victory lane, and it did not disappoint here tonight. It wouldn't have mattered if it was a non-points race or a points race. We definitely retreated to a really good super speedway race regardless.
Yeah, you're right, Seth. And I'll tell you one thing which I kind of kept to myself because nobody likes to be a backdoor driver, so to speak. But I wondered how, because I seen the last or Monday night, how the transferees would do against those that had already transferred, came in transferred, and the top we had looks like 5 of the 10 are all in the top 16, 17. So I mean, that's that. Some people may go, well, that's a lot that aren't there. Well, that's a lot that are not usually there that made it, which just shows how tough and how much fun racing here at RTG is.
Yeah, what do you think? You talked about the fact there. Obviously, those drivers that had to race their way in didn't have a victory to lock them in, and good performances here tonight. We always talk about when we head into a new season, drivers to watch, maybe a little under the radar that we haven't seen go to victory lane in a while. I look at some of these names here, like a Doug Hewlick who brought it home in fourth place. Ulysses Sandoval, I'm sorry, third place for Doug Hewlick. Ulysses Sandoval who brought it home, yeah, in the fourth position. We saw him make a couple of limited starts um, last season. You look at Denny Carroll. We know that he's very good at super speedway racing, but he's only made a few limited starts here this season. I mean, are these some drivers that we could be looking at that potentially, when we get to the Tally Challenge, not just the Tally Challenge, but other series runs super speedways as well. Barebones runs super speedways. Speed Freaks obviously runs super speedways. Are these some drivers that we could end up seeing during the course of the next 3 seasons, locking themselves into the next super speedway All Star race?
Possibility, I would say pretty high. Somebody who I wanted to highlight when you're talking about that, people that didn't make the first race but came in second, I would want to say something about Josh Metallic because
Mm.
when he came into the race and said, he said, "Hey, it's not. I'm going to go ahead and be the eye in the sky, or I'm going to be the ad. Going to announce the race." I was like, "But dude, you qualified." And maybe it's just me, but I would have said, I want to race. I qualified, but like I said, it's been a while since I did this, and this may be where like my future track lies. I have no idea yet, but I have been speaking to Bones about where my future lies with RTG because they've always had my back. Uh, Matter of fact, Bones, he made the first call when he found out that I had totaled out my car and was in the hospital. Now, granted, I don't remember much of it because they didn't expect me to survive, and so they were giving me fentanyl. And for those of you, fentanyl, but all those guys, all the admins, calling me or sending me messages on Messenger. I want to thank Chuck McClure. Like I said, him and I have been running together for probably 25, almost 30 years. And I was able to send messages to him, and then he could try to let people know. Because I know one league goes, "Well, we just assumed you were dead because we couldn't hear from you." I'm like, I can't help that EMS isn't smart enough to bring my legs or phone when they take me to the hospital.
Well, Robbie, definitely pleasure to have you up here in the booth tonight, calling this all-star race. We look forward to seeing you out on the racetrack, obviously, in the upcoming new season and everything. But man, pleasure to have you up here. Again, it's like I said this with Josh. Really cool. We're able to get the driver's insight and everything because when we're up here in the booth, I mean, I've been out there with you guys a couple of times, but not enough to be able to garner the information of somebody that's been racing here in these series for season after season, year after year. So to have that driver experience up here, the driver's perspective as well for the audience to be able to hear, I definitely appreciate you bringing that to the table here tonight.
Well, we appreciate you and everything FRN does. I mean, what's it been 5, 6, 7 years now that you've been taking care of us on Thursday, almost every Thursday. Obviously, life comes knocking, but between Thursday and you try to make all the other series too. It helps because people get on YouTube and all I have to do is say, go FRN and look up our series, and you can watch because people don't know what we actually do here. Like I was talking, I was in dialysis this morning, which is probably why I'm not like chattering off at a million miles an hour. And I said, "You guys got to get me home because I need a nap." Like, "What for?" And I said, "I got a race today, a TV race." And they're like, "I didn't know you were on TV racing." And so it gave me an opportunity to explain what we do.
Mm.
Hopefully, bringing in, like this young man that I was talking to. I say young; he's probably in his 30s, but to me, 30 is young. But I was telling him about it. And he goes, my nephew has that game, I think. I said, well, if he ever has any questions or whatever, or tell him to get on YouTube on his computer or his TV. I said, heck, when I was recovering from the accident, I sit in the hospital with a big old, I don't know what it was, 60, 70-inch TV, being able to watch the race, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm sure others will.
Absolutely, and we appreciate everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight for both the All-Star Open and the All-Star Race. And as stated, these drivers are going to have a little bit more of an off season before everything is organized and announced for the schedule and all of that for the upcoming 67 season. But for the Tally Challenge side, FRN's going to have the call. Looks like the first race will be on May the 2nd. So be sure to tune in for that. Of course, the green flag will fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also keep it here for any possible events between now and then on FRN. But thank you once again for tuning into our coverage here tonight. Congratulations to Greg Palmer. He is your All-Star Race winner here this evening at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. For Robbie Nisus, Josh Metallic, who was in the booth earlier, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of the Thursday night, folks. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.